Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Did we call it to order?
I will call it to order. We're now in order. How about that?
All right. So on our Q4 goal setting in your agenda packets, you should see the Vision 2025 Q4. There's two in there that are in red at the bottom. Those two simply moved from the third quarter, and they weren't complete. So those were the A-Trip project on Shellfield Road, AL 27. The materials are being delivered this month, so that project is on track, hopefully to be done by the end of the year, but definitely will start in the fourth quarter. Complete Parks and Rec maintenance facility, I checked with Barry again today. He felt like that was still a reasonable time frame to have that finished out by the end of the year. So back to the top, the wastewater treatment project upgrades, and I'm going to write on some of these, but the wastewater treatment project upgrades are not going to be complete by the end of the year. They are underway. And if you recall, we had SRF grant, I think about $3.5 million that we got as a grant to do that. So Dura was the company that was selected to do the work, and they have made recommendations, but some of the equipment that we're having to order to replace at the wastewater treatment facilities have longer lead times than we have months left in the year to get this done in the fourth quarter. So I think instead of complete wastewater treatment upgrades, maybe have a status report or something in the fourth quarter on that project and where it stands, if that would be amenable to you. Any objections?
Feel good with that? I guess we don't have a whole lot of choice if the materials aren't available.
Okay. The next one, the same thing. I marked on there already, projected first quarter start for our new council member. The Transportation Assistant Program is the TAP grant program that we go through ALDOT. If we're selected for that, it's an 80-20 match. 80% of the funds come in from the state and 20% come in. We can only have one of those open at a time before it's closed out. And then once it's closed out, we can apply for another one. So typically we'll only have an opportunity to get a TAP grant once every 2 to 3 years. The last one we did was on Daleville Avenue, and that one's complete. We've already submitted the application for the Bellwood Road. So if you recall, that project will go from 27. So there's already sidewalk coming in from towards City Hall along 27, and then where the Y happens at Bellwood Road, there's no sidewalk from there all the way up to the new Legacy gas station. So this sidewalk, that we've received the TAP grant. They're in engineering and design right now. And so first quarter of next year, we should start that process of building out that sidewalk to the Legacy and then down Wallace Drive as well to tie into the new soccer field complex there. So is that still your goal or vision, is kind of hub and spoke with the sidewalk? So as we've talked about it before, we fixed all the sidewalks we currently owned in the downtown area. A couple years ago, we went through that and spent about $300,000 or $400,000 repairing all the broken sidewalks or things where there were along College Street in the downtown corridor. And so most of our sidewalks that were existing have been repaired. From there, we started to look at the goal was to still tie into good sidewalks with other sidewalks that connected into the downtown corridor. So eventually, all the spoke roads would get sidewalks along them to the bypass, and then we could cross the bypass to continue walkability. For instance, if we put a sidewalk down Rucker Boulevard without anywhere to go, it would only get us however long that sidewalk is in Traverse. So does that still seem like a sound logic for the staff to focus on when we get ready for our next TAP? Of course, we'll bring that to you. Okay. Develop and implement training, performance evaluation, and onboarding plan. That will not be done by the fourth quarter. As you know, we had a change in HR personnel. I looked at Allison today during our staff meeting, and she agreed. I think, again, that probably needs to be, we can probably have the development of a training, performance evaluation, and onboarding plan. I don't think the implementation piece of that will be done in the fourth quarter. I think that's a good goal for maybe second quarter or so of 26. So if you don't mind, I will strike the implement piece of that and put on there develop. Is that everyone amenable to that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Yes.
The next two, the quarterly updates on customer service and customer experience for city services and quarterly nuisance property updates. Those are kind of the normal. We'll continue to keep those on as long as you find value in hearing from the staff on those two programs and where we're moving. I know that was one of the Vision 2025 goals, was to make the customer experience for across all of our city departments better. To include online services for some of those, so be able to do your business license, for instance, online. We've done that with the water system. We've gotten a little bit better in some of our engineering and permitting process, but we still have a ways to go in that. And so I think from the staff's perspective, it would be helpful for us to continue to give you quarterly updates as we try to get to that end state. And then the nuisance property later today on the council meeting, you'll have a chance to hear a little bit more about that. But again, that program, I don't know how much you've all been around town and seen some of the successes we've had on that, but it is starting to make a dent in some of the blight and nuisance properties that we have across town. And you'll hear some more on that tonight. Is everybody still okay with leaving those as quarterly goals?
Yes.
I think so.
Increased police staffing by 4 officers. I told Chief Moore today, congratulations. I think I already marked that complete because we didn't just add 4, we've added 12. So we've made a significant jump in that. And if you recall when we started this, we just thought it would be based on the timing for police academies being twice a year. It would be lucky if we could get 6. We didn't even have 12 applicants sometimes that were applying to be on the police force. So the fact that he's been able to do that and increase our staffing, I think the number's at 57, 58? Okay. 2 in the academy now. So, I mean, that's tremendous from where we were. We were down in the 40s, and I just commend him and some of the policies that you approved to include pay raises for our officers, a new police station, a lot of things that you've done to allow this to happen. But
Has the change that we made to allow lateral moves from other police departments helped at all?
you want to come?
There's a lot, yes, sir. We've had more applicants that are certified than we've had before. Unfortunately, some of them just don't turn out to be hired. But yes, we've had more applicants in the last year to be that are certified. And then also, we've had more that were already certified to stay longer with the police department, not try to seek any higher, any other departments or anything else. Some of them, 3 of them came from Mobile. Mobile was in shambles, if you will, and they all 3 seem to be pretty happy. All just got promoted to corporal, so, or will be promoted to corporal, so it's moving in the right direction. So, yes, sir.
I had a question. We gained 12 new officers. I was going to ask about retention. So how's retention in the police department? That's going well?
Well, funny you say, I got my last year's numbers, just in case the question came up. We've lost 7 in the last year. So 1 to retirement. He had 32 years in law enforcement. He decided he was done after 32 years. I don't blame him. We had 3 resign, 2 left law enforcement completely. They never went back into law enforcement. The other one went to Coffee County Sheriff's Office. And then we had 2 that were terminated for cause from the police department in the last year, that they also will not be in law enforcement again. So we've lost 7, and we've hired 12. And then I fully expect, I know I have two that are going to retire in the next 5 months or so. But again, they've done 25 to 27 years of service with the city of Enterprise. And I know one of them's looking to move with his grandbaby, so something I knew was coming, so. yes,
So
sir.
with the 12 hires, 7 losses, are we still in the same area you were hoping to be at by this point?
I wanted to be in more. Again, like, there's a lot of things that are affecting, there's two conversations that are always at the Chiefs Associations, any of the conferences I go to, or any conversations I have with chief. One of them is hiring and retention, the new laws in the state of Alabama that I've talked to all my officers about. It's extremely hard to hire a previous certified officer, and it's also extremely hard to hide any bad officers anymore. So that kind of prevents us from hiring certified. It just doesn't work out most of the time because we have what we call radius. Radius is any resignations or anything, termination, resignation, or anything else we put in the system by state law, and it gives information of why that person was terminated. So if it's terminated with cause or even it goes down to, I've told my officers, I don't care if you resign in lieu of termination, I still have to put that in the system. And then once somebody goes to look at that person, they have a release of information from that officer. I'm protected by new laws that allow me to explain why the person no longer works for the city, and the same as other places too. So where we used to have, for example, we had an officer that when I was coming up in the ranks, worked for 7 different departments in probably 6 years. He was just looking for the greener grass, or he got in trouble one place, he'd go somewhere else. That's very, very rare for that to happen to larger departments or established departments. Maybe smaller ones that don't pay as well, but the ones that have benefits and have a, progression through the ranks, people don't stay at those or come from smaller departments to our department because they're just not fit for the job. Then the other thing is just so you've got that kind of fights against us. Everybody's looking for that the new process of hiring officers where you have to do a psychological evaluation, the PT standard, which City of Enterprise has always done. We've done psychological, polygraph, a full background, passed the PT test, and then this all has to be put into a packet and sent to the state of Alabama A-Post. Enterprise has always done that. In the last 4 years, it was mandatory that everybody does it. So it's everybody starts competing for the same officers, the phenomenal good officers that would pass everything, and it gets difficult in that area. Again, this is something that we've all talked about from the education board that I belong to with Chief of Police Association to just talking to other chiefs. It gets very difficult to hire officers when we're all after the same ones. So.
Is that, I think the number was probably around 15% on churn. Is that pretty normal in a police department for that level of, the number of outgoing people, is that pretty normal, that percentage?
Yes, sir, I think so. I think more and more people are retiring now as well. I know a lot of the folks that I grew up in the ranks with are retiring from other departments. More I go to the Chiefs Association, even they are retiring. You see them dwindling down to getting new faces all the time. I think that's just in the last 4 years, last 4 years, 6 years, once people saw a way to, retire, I think a lot of them are. The fact, again, I think it's a good thing, don't get me wrong. I think it's a good thing that we can report on officers that do not cut what our community wants. But that also prevents us from getting any officers when they know that they can be reported and, not have a job after a while. So I'm all for it, but it makes it difficult. You expect more out of people. You pretty much have to pay more for people to remain here. So I think everything that we have going here, the people that I had one that said he wanted to leave to go to Dothan. He changed his mind. Other people I know could go other places, have talked about going other places, federal, state, whatever else. They all have moved up to the ranks, so they're happy where they're at. The crew that we have, I'm really proud of. And I think better things are coming. We're getting more and more officers. It's just, waiting for the right one. So we never have reduced our standards in law enforcement for our community. It's always been the high standards. And it doesn't, unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't take much for them not to be hired with the City of Enterprise, which I think is a good thing. So,
How do you feel that the Tier 1 benefits are going to affect your future retirements?
oh, you would ask me this. Well, sir, I personally, as I've discussed, and I'm all for doing anything. If you came to me and I said, well, we don't need brand-new cars every single year, but you say that's what we're going to do, then I'm going to be all for it. I don't see it as a benefit as far as me, because when we first started talking about the Tier 1, Tier 2, I went around and I asked every single officer. I talked to other officers from other departments. I talked to people that I'm in the Guard with that are young in their law enforcement career. Not one is anybody worried about their retirement in 25 years, right? They were worried about, well, what benefits do you have for me to go to Enterprise? Well, we've got, sick time, or we've got health insurance. I'm a single guy. I don't really care about health insurance. I got military. I don't really care about health insurance. Most of the time it was equipment that I have, which, again, the city council has been more than fair to give us the equipment that we need. Vehicles that we drive, if they're good, or are they going to be in the, in and out of the shop? And do I get a take-home car? And how much extra details can I work? Not pay details, but extra details, right? So can I work undercover? Can I go to CID? Can I work on the bike patrol? Can I do this? Can I do that? Police officers want training and experience in my experience. And as long as I can give them that, pay's really not a big deal. Retirement's really not a big deal. And then, insurance is not a big deal. Now, where that changes, obviously, is if I went and talked to the spouses. That's completely different, right? So if I went and I talked to the spouses, that's a completely different story. And then that's when their mindset starts changing of, wait a minute, I really want the experience. Oh, and also I need to take care of my family. So as long as they're young, single, or whatever, like I said, I don't believe I've lost one to Coffee County who is not Tier 1. And they had no intentions of becoming one. He just wanted less, if you will, less paperwork. And that's what drives a lot of people away from municipal, is the amount, especially our size, Dothan size, the amount of calls that we get, the call volume throughout can cause a lot of stress on the officers. So we average about 11 calls an hour, and that can range from traffic stops to building checks to free-for-alls or death investigations. So traffic wrecks, we do it all. So that's really where I think that, and that's something nobody can help. I mean, bigger department you have, bigger city you have, more calls you're going to have. That's just the nature of the beast. So, but Tier 1, the conversion, again, I'm glad we did it. I like to see some difference in the future, but do I see an effect on it? No, I do not.
Last question. If you could, again, just for my notes, what's our current staff on police department, and what's your goal for staff on police department?
So conversation has always been, we're at 59. We've always talked about the last 5 years of getting to a staff of 75 to prepare for the future. That's a big task and big asking. We can always have conversation because there's always ways around that, right? So we don't have 75, we have 68, 70 or something, but we have a full real crime center where we can track real crimes by videos, license plate readers, information coming in, tips hotline coming in immediately to somebody. We have callers in there, whatever else, people that monitor all the video cameras, stuff like that. Yes, it's a cost up front, a large cost, but as we've talked about it's not near as the cost of the 75 officers, plus the promotions of those, plus the benefits of those, plus everything else. I could reduce the amount of officers by having more technology out there. And I think that's where we're kind of at right now, is I think technology is going to far exceed and help the city of Enterprise more than 75 officers.
And that goes back to what we talked about with the flock cameras, right?
That's correct. And it's less intrusive, right?
Yeah.
It's less, you have less officers in uniforms and everything else. Some people, believe it or not, doesn't like to see a whole lot of police officers around them and stuff. But it's less intrusive, but we can still get the same result of protecting our good citizens of Enterprise.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Council, if we'll continue down our list, mitigate all units voted on by council, that has to do with the nuisance properties. Again, you'll see the next round on the agenda tonight. We're on our way to accomplishing that goal. Mitigation can be, something the city does, but it can also be, I think as we've discussed before, we have close to 30, maybe a little over that at this point, that have self-mitigated. In other words, pulled a permit to repair whatever was damaged with a home or property. So we're counting those as well. It doesn't mean that you'll have 100 properties demoed to the ground. We're just asking them to mitigate, and some of those people are doing that on their own. Some of them are electing to go in our CDBG grant program, where we can bring the property down at no cost to the property owner. And then others that are more contentious are just going to buck the system until we actually take action. So I think we're still tracking on that. The next item is I put it down as a balloon ordinance, but that was something that I think some Girl Scouts came to the last council meeting about. If you would like us to draft something, I think our city attorney has already done that. But it's not something that I know if you want as an action item or not. Seemed like you were receptive when that group came to speak at the last council meeting. So we were being a little bit proactive, but if it's not something you'd like us to bring to you in the future or put on our quarterly goal list, then certainly can take it off.
I'd like to see it.
President, I certainly applauded the young ladies for the courage to come and speak about what I consider more like a project, okay? For me as a council member, when we start creating ordinances and things, I look at things that we're seeing that we have known problems for. I didn't recognize that balloon releases were a major problem in the city, is my opinion. And I just don't want us to get in, just be careful to not just get into being overbearing with just random things. Not saying it's random in a bad way, but I'm saying, well, just for instance, we address weed overgrowth because we set a goal to want to eliminate blight, and that was a part of that whole package, right? So people not taking care and maintaining their yards, and that also went with us, I guess, modifying our enforcement codes. Well, are we having a problem with balloons before we just start inserting? That's what I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I think that's just something we should ask as a council. Are we things before we just hop up and do an ordinance for? Or does this need our intrusion or our involvement? Is it a problem for? Is it changing lifestyle? Is it changing anything in the community or our city that we need to say? We need to step in and do something because this is a problem. Now, that's my take on the balloon ordinance.
I'd like to see a little more discussion on it brought to us to make that decision on that.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I think we
You know.
should talk about, so just creating an ordinance, just say
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, so part of that for the discussion is what does an ordinance look like? What would it say? So certainly wouldn't put it on the agenda, but if you want me to bring it to a work session, a future work session for discussion, we can do that in the fourth quarter, or we can, end the conversation here.
And has the city received any complaints about balloon releases or any, has there?
Not to my knowledge. Have you? No. No, sir.
Yeah, so I guess I've kind of got mixed feelings on it. Part of it is probably just a nice, easy thing to make a club happy. But on the other side of it, I really am not just in favor of creating a bunch of ordinances that add more things to the list of what not to do in the city of Enterprise unless there's a real reason for it. So I think the discussion is worth having. I'm not sure we'll get to a point of actually doing the ordinance unless there's a majority of us that want to do it.
Yeah,
But-
that's all I'm asking for, it's just a discussion, so then we can
But,
due diligence for the young ladies. And
it may be we may find that there's bigger reason to do it than not,
Right.
once we have that discussion and do a little research into it.
Okay.
We can pass ordinance after ordinance, but if you don't enforce them, they're not worth 2 cents.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something the chief brought up in our staff meeting today, is that how,
How do you enforce that?
yeah.
And I
think-
guess I say that because, you do have a family, sometimes other civic organizations, they do things to commemorate or memorialize family members, and, it's just something I would definitely want to have a conversation to
Sure.
see,
Yep.
what problems, I keep harping on that because it was new info to me, actually. I didn't, I remember hearing about birds throwing rice at weddings a long time ago when I was a kid, but I hadn't heard about the balloons.
Yeah.
I got to say, while I was in the military, I heard it a lot at different bases where they had banned it. But I just want to open the discussion, and like Greg said, that we may find something more, we may find nothing, so,
Yeah, I'm always open to the evidence proving me wrong.
yeah.
Sure. Okay. And that's really all I have. I didn't know, council members, if you had any, typically on these, we would add, or at least have a discussion around anything that was, put in our issues from Q1, 2, or 3 that was added for future consideration. I didn't have anything on that sheet, the last page there, that I was tracking that had come up over the last quarter for discussion, but there may be something that I missed or something that you've thought of that you would like to add, so.
Well, I know we get updates on our paving phases and where we are, and, as far as bidding and all that. I'm getting a lot of calls about the progress or what's going on with the water line replacements in areas where there's like lots of dirt piled up and the roads have been taken up, and there are some days, I know we got some weather days, but it's some days it's nothing, kind of like an update to know, like, what's the plan for completion, or,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of questions about
I'm getting a lot of
Alberta.
calls about people's yards being, messed up, and of course, they appreciate, most of the calls that I get, they are appreciating the efforts to improve the water systems, but I don't really have an answer
Sure.
as far as that goes, so maybe some updates along the way, especially when we have major, areas that are traveled a lot being affected. Kind of
Yep.
have some updates, maybe for the public in the council meeting.
We can certainly do that. Glenn, are we on Phase 6 street project? Do we have that already identified? We have, okay. Do you want to give an update on the water project? That was something Glenn and I talked about today as well. Some of the issues that we've had with the contractors and how to manage that. So, Glenn?
Council. We did have some conversation about that, obviously, over the last several weeks. With the dry weather we had, particularly dust was a big problem. Some of the material they were using in the trenches, it works well when things are a little damp and everything's working well because it holds well in the trench. However, when it's dry, it'll about turn to dust and it gets real fine, and obviously it's been very, very dry. We did address that with the contractor to try to help a little bit with wetting and using some moisture and try to keep that down. I do know as of today, they have patched Alberta, so they have dressed it up. I drove it just a while ago before I came to the council meeting. It's pretty much completely dressed up. They've got two little patches left between Dauphin Street and Main Street to finish. They're going to finish that tomorrow, so Alberta will be patched tomorrow. We thought they were going to move immediately to Daleville, but there's going to be Monday, I think, before they get to Daleville. They are going to move over there and do some dress up and clean up and prep to get that patched next week on Daleville. So one of the things that kind of delays that a little bit is there's some process of obviously getting the main laid, getting it tested, getting the services run. Then they have to come back and cut and kill in the road to kill the old main. So that kind of delays the patching process without them having to come back and cut a patch back out. So we are pressing them hard. Weeda Street also is one of the ones, obviously, that needs patching, and it's on the list to get patched in the next week or two. Yeah, there's two aspects of the water project. If the water main obviously needs replacing, that's really caused the most disruption. And like Alberta, the section on Alberta and Weeda and Daleville, it was a main issue. So what happens there is obviously you have to replace the main, but at the same time we have to keep the existing main in service to keep everybody's water on. So it gets to be kind of a balancing deal there of trying to do that, where we can place the main and keep the existing main in service long enough to get it tested, and then run all of the new services to the new meters, get it tested out, and then they have to make the service conversions before they come back and make the cut and kills to kill the old line. The other aspect is a situation where we've got a good main. There's nothing wrong with the main, however, the service lines are the problem. In that case, it's less disruptive because then they just go in and tap the existing main, run a new service line. And the way we've set it up is on the services themselves, most of all of those are bored under the street, so there's no open cuts for the service line. So that, unless the main, the existing main is in the road, they'll have to make a cut to make the taps. But these projects are a mixture of those two types. The Alberta and Dauphin, Alberta and Daleville and Weeda happen to be, main issues. And to Jonathan's credit, he rides quite often and he makes a phone call to me all along and, tells me some things that need to be done. And we try our best to follow up and do our best to make the contractor be progressive in that. But hopefully, if everybody's holding on, Alberta should be pretty much dressed up and it's patched as of today. So Daleville and Weeda will follow that.
How about the yards on Alberta, the affected people? Are they getting regrassed and all that?
Well, they're set up to seed mulch is what they're set up to do. Sodding, without getting into too much detail, obviously when you get into a sodding situation, it does kind of get, that expands quickly. A lot of times they try to maintain some topsoil, keep that back, put the grass back, and given enough a little time with some moisture, the grass will come back pretty well without having to go to a full sod situation. That's kind of the goal.
If the grass doesn't regrow with the seeding, are they going to be contacted to resod?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's obviously as we get closer, when we get to the end of the project, there'll be a substantial completion site review that'll be done on the complete project. So a punch list will be generated at that point on everything. At that point, it sets a warranty period. There's a standard 1-year general warranty period. However, typically in the punch list, establishment of vegetation is set up as a separate thing. So the contractor is required to get the vegetation established to satisfaction regardless of the warranty. And usually that runs on through the warranty period. It has run past warranty period. It just depends on how well the grass establishes, but that is in there.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get Barry Mott to come up here too, because this is something that from a staff level that's equally frustrating. And I wanted to see if the council might have an appetite to help us consider a way to know what's going on. And this is dealing with, whether it's C Spire, Alabama Power, or our own water department. We are failing from a communication standpoint, both internally and externally, because there's no permit process. So any of these utilities that want to go out, and sure, sometimes there's an emergency break, but when you have planned projects like we're doing right now, there's no notification given to, the city that, this is where we're going to be, this is the scope of the project. We don't even have to review the plans or approve them in many instances. And so, we don't even know, sometimes we'll get a phone call from somebody that says their yard's torn up. We have to do a little digging to figure out, is that a water project? Is that C Spire? Which contractor, what utility did the damage? And I think there are some ways, but it would take council action to maybe approve some processes to filter that through. So, Barry?
Thank you, Jonathan. We've been struggling with this issue as long as I've been with the city, and it started off, honestly, when we started seeing the fiber optic groups come in with that grant program that came through, and we had a multitude of different companies coming in, and they do have the right, a lot of times, whether they had an agreement with the city or not, to put in utilities and install that. And it's a good thing for the citizens to have those utilities that are, cutting edge and good utilities, but a lot of the citizens don't understand that, what is it in their front yard, what is not, where's the right-of-way stop, that kind of thing. And we've been struggling with this for a while. And I told Jonathan, I think we're failing at that in the engineering department, because I guess it's a threefold thing. Number one, we don't know basically the projects are going on. Two, we're not communicating during the construction project. And number three, I can't close a project out because I wasn't in on the early discussions about what success looks like to protect our citizens and to have some kind of sense of understanding and what is your idea of what success looks like for the residents in your district. So that three-phase project, the only way that I know to solve that is to come forward with a permitting process for utilities that are put into the city's right-of-way. If it is a city street and we've adopted that street and we're maintaining that street, it's pretty easy when we do a paving project because we don't necessarily get out of the curb line when we do a road. We may have to mill the road and we overlay it, or we may overlay on top of it, but we don't get out into people's yards. We don't get out in the right-of-way. It comes when we have utilities that do upgrades, typically, or an emergency situation. And we don't want to slow down the emergency situations. When things happen, they need to be able to go in and fix that, whatever that is. If they have to shut a lane down, if they have to get there and fix it, I get it. But on known projects that are large projects that are going to affect a lot of people, I think the right solution would be, if you have the appetite to, is for us to come up with a permitting process for utilities in the city limits. So that would be along the same thing, if you were to do work on an ALDOT road, they require you to get a utility permit with ALDOT to do work in their right-of-way. It would, in my opinion, if we were to take some of those same practices that ALDOT uses on their roads and engage those in the city, that way we would have a permitting process. They would sit down with the engineering department. We'd understand what the project looks like. We'd have discussions like, okay, if you're going to go in and you're going to disrupt the yard, what are you going to put the yards back like? What does erosion control look like? Are you going to repave the streets when you get through with it? We have those discussions on the front end, but we're not doing a really good job, to be honest with you, with having communication on the front end and then following all the way through communication during the project and closing those projects out. And I'm embarrassed to a certain point that we don't have a better control on the quality control and what's going on in our city streets. And I told Jonathan, that's something that we've been talking about this for the last few months. I said, I think that's the right answer. If you're on board with that, is doing a permitting process that we know what we're going into, and we have some kind of input on the front end, can communicate to you on a regular basis from city staff, and then we could close the project out properly. And that's nothing against any of the engineers or any of the utilities are doing. I know they got to do work, but I think we do need to have a better communication and permitting process on that. If that's something that you feel that we ought to look into, or if you have a better idea.
If I'm to understand what you're saying correctly, then, not to name any company, but when a utility company, fiber optic company. Two of them came through my neighborhood. They went through the yards, did their stuff, and a lot of times it's subcontracted out. It's not the name company, but it's
That's
subbed
correct.
out down. They don't have to work with the city at all. They don't have to communicate with you. They just come in and start doing that work.
Depends on the franchising agreement that they have with the city. Sometimes they do say that they have the right to do that, and that's spelled out very clearly. Sometimes it's not. What I'm asking is, if they're going to do it on this street or they're going to this neighborhood, I want to pull a permit for that particular part of the project. We know they're going to go in there. How are they going to do it? Where are they going to dig up the yards? What is it going to look like? That'll help us with our communication to get out, put that word out to the residents that this is coming. This is what it's going to look like. Right now, we depend on the utility to put up signs and to get out there to the public. Sometimes they do a good job, sometimes they don't. If we had a little bit more control and we could kind of foster the narrative with the public about how to go about doing that, then we can get ahead of it and let them know that this is what they're going to be. This is a phone number they can call with the city. We can also, disseminate information a lot better than just saying, hey, if you have a problem, I know that's XYZ company, here's a number, go call them. And we kind of, we wash our hands and go, you go figure it out, Mr. Citizen. And they don't understand construction. They don't understand right away. And in this, if we do a permitting process, at least we would know on the front end. I think we could help the project through. I think they have a better chance of success in mitigating some of the problems we have. I don't know that would be 100%. That you won't have any issues during a construction project. I don't think that's capable of happening. But and Jonathan's point is true. At least I know where the contractors are.
Yeah.
If I get a phone call on XY Street, I know who it is. I know who to call. I'm aware of the situation where right now I get an update as, some people do it better than others, but there's a lot of times I don't know. I get a phone call and I actually get in a truck and ride out there to see who it is and what it is and try to solve the problem. And that's all reactionary instead of, on the front end being proactive in the situation. I think the permitting process would be a proactive solution to that, not to create more bureaucracy, not to do that, just to let us know what's going on and to say, if you're going to dig up half the street and you're going to replace the water, are you going to pave the street back? Are you going to patch it back? If you're going to put that in there, how long is it going to be till you get paving back? At least we could have those conversations and you would know. So if you get those questions, you could answer those questions. And then we can give you a regular update. If that's every council meeting, if you want it every week, and do whatever that you desire that you would like to have. But right now, I have no way of knowing other than just trying to chase it down and find out who it is.
Well, my opinion is we've definitely had a lot of phone calls and a lot of frustration from the citizens that don't know what's going on, that there needs to be some sort of municipal engineering oversight of this. Obviously, they have a right to do it, but if it follows like the process you're talking about, and at minimum, where they are, and it's like you said, it takes too long to get an answer right now to a lot of people. And then if they're messing up multiple people's properties and city property at times, and it may take a while to figure out who was responsible for it.
At a bare minimum, what you would know is who they are, where they are, a schedule for what it's going to be, and what the finished product would look like. I mean, to me, those are like the bare essentials for a successful project. And I can't answer those questions typically because they're not asking permission. They just go out there and do the work. And I think the permitting process is not a more bigger government. It's not about having more control. It's not about anything other than better communication, understand what it is, and making sure that our citizens have a chance to understanding that project. And we'll know. If you call, I'll be able to answer that question. I could publish, a regular scheduled update on all the construction projects in the right-of-way. There's several ways that we can disseminate information a lot better than what we've done in the past.
So basically, right now, you're not involved in the scope of the project. You're not allowed to be able to know what the scope of the project is. You're just reactionary learning as it's happening or by a yard sign being put up that says this is.
That's an generalization, but typically, yes. If it comes to a fiber optic type installation, I'm begging to keep up with where they are. I have no way of shutting them down on the project. If they said, hey, you got to give me a 1 week notice before you go into an area and we have these things, if you don't know me, then I'd have a way. You don't have a permit, I could shut you down from doing work. Or if you said, hey, you would have erosion control up to keep dirt from going down the street, and they don't do it, I'd have a way of shutting you down because you wouldn't have a permit to work in the city. Right now, they have an open franchise agreement. They go do what they want to. The water department and the projects they're doing, they give me an opportunity on the front end to say, hey, here's some of the plans, but once they determine what they do, they go do what they think they need to do. And a lot of times it's reactionary in my department to do that. And I think the right answer is to do a blanket, if you're doing work in the right-of-way, if you're doing work where you're going to disturb established right-of-way, we ought to know who you are, where you're going to be, how long it's going to be done, and then what the finished product should look like.
Unless it's a repair, right, an emergency repair.
Emergency repair, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, you have the right, if you have a water line break, please go fix the water
Yes.
line. If they have something come up in a yard and
Somebody
it gets
cut the fiber.
cut, go
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
And we understand that. I'm
Okay.
talking about the the
Install.
ones that are disturbing, they're running miles of line or taking up a whole neighborhood. I think the permitting process is something we've never done, but I think it's something that may solve this problem.
And it's going to help. I think it's just a courtesy thing, even when the right-of-way belongs to us and we're doing work. You remember what we experienced with Delville Avenue. We really didn't know we had an idea when the work was going to start, but that was problematic, like AlDOT with the paving out here on 167. They put a sign out 5 days prior at least saying, paving is going to start on such and such day.
Yes, ma'am.
So, that, if you travel a lot, you were prepared. Even if you forgot, you can't say anything because you just forgot, but you did see it, It just helps.
It might be something that I recommend to you to put in a budget to have some informational signage that we would use with some of the work in our right-of-ways, or maybe some things that after getting into this, that we decide is a good way of communicating. We could use our communication department with the city to get that word out on Facebook, that kind of stuff. But there's a
Right.
lot of things that we could do if we knew on the front end that, hey, in
Because-
2 weeks, they're going to be in this area, let's get ahead of
Right.
it.
Because a lot of these workers, I've experienced, they're in their personal vehicles. They're not professional, or they're not company vehicles. They got regular layman clothes. You can't identify who they are.
Part of the
what's
permitting
going on.
process may be that they have to have name badges on all their trucks to identify who they are. Part of the permitting process is who's the contact information for complaints that come in, who do we contact, who does the public contact? There's lots of things that we can do in the permitting process that would get the information out there, and we could
Right.
address some of these issues.
Because I've had some elderly citizens call concerned they got young men, near their house, and they're not identified. They don't know, they out there working, they clearly know they're working, but it's just, maybe they'll cut down some of the calls that we're all getting.
But
maybe.
it sounds like there's enough interest here that probably worth bringing that to a work session. Is that something we want to add to the quarter four goals?
Yes, I think we could do that. And I want to reiterate what Barry said, like, this isn't a knock on the people that have done work here, or Glenn, or our water department especially. The issue that I've seen is we are doing more larger projects, generational type projects, especially in water. They just borrowed almost around $20 million to do a lot of these water line replacements that are great for the community, right? That's going to keep us from being a Flint, Michigan, or Jackson, Mississippi situation and replacing 100-year-old lines or lead joint pipe or whatever those kind of things are. But, these are projects that I don't think the city on a normal schedule would entertain, right? Like, when you're talking about multi-million-dollar projects, and the same with all the grant money that came in from fiber. I mean, these are just large projects. Like, so as long as we're in that mindset, and we will be for the next few years with water and probably with fiber and other entities, it just makes a lot of sense to try to get a little bit more control and understanding, because we experience the same thing you do down at City Hall. We have people calling in all the time. And literally, I can't tell you what contractor's out in front of your house, because nobody knows. They showed up at 6 in the morning and started doing work. And, well, we thought they were going to be on this street. They've already called ahead, and they're working on some other street. And that's kind of, it's not acceptable. It's frustrating for staff. And as Barry said, it's very reactionary and not proactive. Yeah.
One other item I want to point out, and this really helps the water department. When other utilities are in our city doing work, having a permitting process would allow us to make sure that they're getting the call-ins, to make sure they're locating all the utilities. That affects our water department, affects our sewer department, affects a lot of people, because a lot of times they'll just show up, start doing work, and we had no idea, and then they're just punching. They cut our water lines, they punch through our sewer laterals, which may back up sewage in somebody's house. Then we're starting to chase, well, let's get it fixed, and then who did it, and then who's responsible, where a lot of times we could say, part of the process is you have to identify those other utilities that are in the right of way. You have to do that. We're kind of proactive to help the contractor be more successful and have less negative impact on the citizens there. Now, any construction project will have an impact. When you start digging dirt, things are going to happen, but at least we can minimize that, we can communicate that, and we can close it out properly, which I think would be accomplished if we come up with some kind of a permitting process in the city right away.
Thanks.
Let's do it.
Okay. Any other items that the council may have that like us to consider?
When would it be appropriate to set our January planning session for
Okay.
26?
So if you'll look up, I have that on the work session agenda as its own
Okay.
bullet point, but we can
Okay.
certainly do that. We have the time.
We can do it well, it's 5 minutes till we're supposed to start our work session. I don't know if anyone needs to take a break before we go into that official work session, or,
We in official.
well, I'm sorry.
That's our agenda.
Our agenda of work session, sorry, the reviewing the agenda.
We can take a little 5 minutes.
Yeah, he needs a break, so can
Take 5.
we just take, I know we had talked about it, but I didn't see it on there.
Yes, sir. I added that in the retiree.
Okay. So we'll take a 5-minute break, come back at 5 o'clock to review agenda. tell you, it feels a whole lot better than the one that we had for a couple of years when we first got done. That was horrible. I was literally sitting down on at times on my knees behind the counter because I couldn't even sit. My back would go out. All right, let's review the agenda. So we have a long one tonight. We'll do the roll call, opening prayer and pledge of allegiance, approval of agenda, and we'll do the consent agenda. Accept the meetings to accounts payable, contract billings, $779,778 to Volkert Incorporated. Southeast Construction for Boll Weevil Circle Expansion, contract services $338,906. Poly Incorporated, $410,070. And $25,801 to Ewing Connor and Associates for resurfacing and engineering design. $5,000 contract administrative services to CDBG demolition project. We also have some travel requests for Main Street and tourism, and request to dispose of some things for engineering. Is there anything that anyone needs to pull off the consent agenda, or are we all good with leaving it? All right, then Mayor will proclaim Saturday, October 18th as Pilot International Founders Day. He will also honor the Main Street Alabama 2025 award recipients. Then we'll have the privilege of the floor. And if I don't forget staff reports, we'll do those. I think I skipped those last time. Let me highlight that. In old business, we'll review and consider ordinance 09-1625C, the sale of property for Turner Orthodontics properties. We've already discussed this. Anyone have any questions, concern about that? All right. Review and consider bid recommendation for 2024 CDBG demolition project phase 1. Do we have anything, does anyone need to discuss this part of the? That's the question that I had is, when I looked at this, is the extreme differences. I did too. I'm like, it's, the next one's double and the next one's triple. Like, why is it such huge differences?
Well, so we put that out for bid, and some of the contractors are local, some of the contractors are not local. Some people do some of the work in-house, some don't. One of the contractors was an asbestos abatement company that's getting into construction. So they all tackle these projects a little differently, which is some of the issues that we had trying to get our city project on the street the first time, which is why we're going back out for bid. We've kind of narrowed down how to get bidders to the table and how to get good bid prices. I would contribute this to David Ewing doing a good job of getting the contractors there and helping them through the process to get a good competitive bid. We did discuss whether that bid was too low. Should it be thrown out because it's not a legitimate bid? He thought the bids it was a good bid. It was what he thought the project should be bid for, and he thought the other bids were high. That's the response we had at the bid opening.
Yeah, it looks like one of them bid high enough that they didn't want to do the job.
Yeah. Well, I think they, it depends on how you go about tackling it. If they had to outsource some of it or they had to use a third-party contractor, those could dictate that. If they have to use if they don't have the equipment in-house, some people may own their equipment, which would be cheaper for them to use. Some people used outside sources to do that. The main question I had was, are we going down a path where if we award it to the $98,000, if I remember correctly, bid on it, then are we setting ourselves up for failure that they cannot accomplish the job there? Because you can dismiss a bid because it's not a legitimate bid. It's actually can't be done for that project price. And David and I had a long conversation about it. He thought that it was a very competitive bid. He thought we got a good bid price on it, but he thought that was in the neighborhood of what he would expect.
Okay.
He recommended that we move forward with the bid as submitted.
Okay, that was my main concern with that. Yes.
How many units are in that?
Was it 8? I can't remember.
There's 9 properties and 17 units.
So remember, some of those are multi-unit houses that are there, or buildings. There were actually 9 individual, like standalone units, but 17, say 17? 17 individual units within it.
And what's the, this is going to get awarded, what's the estimated start and completion date on that?
Typically, I'll tell you that those goes pretty quick, 90 days type thing. I don't have the contract in front of me. I'd be glad to forward that to you, the contract on it, but they move pretty quick. They'll go in there and do the asbestos removal first. The state requires now that they have to do wet asbestos removal. So they'll wet everything down and remove any of the hazardous materials that are in there, and that all goes to a certified landfill that could take that hazardous material. After that, they'll come in there and they'll demo the projects down. The demo does not typically take very long. However, we do have some here that have either a 4-plex or an 8-plex in those buildings, and there's adjacent structures next to those, so that may take a little bit more time. But I'll be glad to get you a schedule, if it's okay with you, maybe staff reports at the next council meeting. I'll give you a full schedule on that.
That'd be awesome, thank you.
I'd be glad to do that. I just don't have it memorized. I apologize.
Thank you. All right, so new business, which is probably going to take up the bulk of our meeting. We have our public hearings for nuisance properties, dangerous buildings.
Good evening. Ben Goldman, it's good to be back with y'all tonight. As we enter Phase 3 of our demolitions, we have, as we've had on Phases 1 and 2, many properties that are set before you, and you all have your binders. We're going to go through that in the public hearing. We'll show some slides, and we'll get into the particulars. What I would like you to know ahead of time is that there are some of these that we will be recommending that you go ahead and adopt the resolutions of demolition on tonight. After the public hearing, there are a couple things I want to see in terms of who we have present. But there are some that we are continuing to work on, and we will recommend that the council, instead of closing the public hearing, that it be continued as to certain properties until your meeting on December 2nd, and that the resolutions that go with those be tabled then too. Again, we'll make that recommendation following the public hearing, but that'll be next.
Council person has never been through this process. Will you back up for a minute and talk about the process to get you?
Yeah, sure, certainly. So, good evening to our newest council member, and congratulations and welcome. And I was asked to maybe take one step back on this and talk a little bit about the process, if I may, for the council.
Thank you.
Yes. I won't go into quite as much detail, just trying to be respectful for time, as we did when we were here about a year ago doing the first phase of the demolitions. But as a little bit of background, the City of Enterprise has adopted a dangerous buildings program that my firm has put together. I'm a lawyer with Hand, Darendahl, Harrison Sale out of Birmingham. But that program has been adopted by 34 different cities around the state. And so we have a lot of confidence in the process because we go above and beyond on providing extra, not only the statutorily required due process, but extra due process to make sure that we do all the things we can to try to bring people to the table and let them address their own property issues. And so I want you to know the most important part of our process is something that is absolutely not required by statute. All it's required by is common sense and being a good neighbor. And that is that the very first thing that happens is there is always a 20-day letter that goes out, except in an emergency situation, but a 20-day letter that goes out from the building official. That first contact will never be from the attorney. It will never be from, a police officer. We are always beginning with the proposition of asking the property owner to simply take control of their property and to make it appropriate for their neighbors. And that's really what it's about. That fairness, because we always hear this isn't fair, right? Because we are talking about people's property rights, and they're important, and we respect them. But we also respect other people's property rights, too. And so all of these properties are ones that have come to us with complaints from neighbors. They affect their neighborhoods. They affect your business districts. And so we try to, although we have a very deliberate process, it is also, we try to keep it moving on time. But it's not fast, and it's not fast by design, because we want people to have lots of opportunities along the way. So that 20-day letter goes out before we even begin pulling title on the property and beginning to draft our formal document that would bring us to a setting like this tonight. Once the Lis Pendens, which is that notice document, is ready, then we're on a 50 to 60-day time frame before we come before the council for our first hearing. And then even if you order it for demolition, we wait 20 days before we take further action to see if there's an appeal. And then we will, at that point, begin demolition. So you're really looking at the start of the process to, a final order of demolition, about 120 days. It's not fast, but I think that time goes to show that we're trying to give property owners every opportunity along the way with lots of notice, lots of postings on the building. We're actually, we send certified mailings to all the addresses we have. We post in the usual places that ordinances are posted around the city. And we are going to take, we're actually doing something new, and we'll be doing this across the board. We always have there's an option to run a publication in the paper, a one-time process. Because so few people actually bother to sign for their mail anymore, and this has really been kind of a post-COVID sort of development, we're going to go ahead and start running a short form in the paper once a week for 4 weeks, just to make sure that we kind of follow the process that the courts use every time for serving parties that you can't locate. And so anyway, that we really do kind of go above and beyond. All that's put into your ordinance as your policy, and it's important to have that policy because that establishes, as a matter of our process, it helps us on claims. Okay, so in addition to it being the right thing to do, I think that's it in a nutshell. Except to say, I will brag on your engineering team and your building official who serve as our appropriate municipal officials and the support they get from your city administrator. Nobody's doing a better job of managing their demolition program right now, I believe, anywhere in the state than the city of Enterprise. And so y'all are to be commended for this and for really cleaning up your city. I know that it's a slow process, but I hope you're seeing the physical results of that come to bear now. So I'm excited to be a part of it. Do you have any questions?
No. Well, one, you've completed phase one, or you said you started a year ago and completed phase one. Looks like about to get started on phase two. Have we learned anything during that process? Has anything come up? Any complaints? Any legal issues? Anything like that from the work that's already been done?
So we had the first hearings were last December in phase one. We had another, phase two was in March. And then this phase three, well, I guess maybe was that March or June? Well, anyway, sometime mid this year. And then tonight will be phase three. We have another phase four coming up. In terms of legal issues, not really. We have one property that has been appealed. We have really kind of, I want to commend not only your officials, but also property owners. There have been a lot of voluntary demolitions. The staff has been really great at trying to bring property owners to use CDBG funds so that they can avoid having a lien placed on their property. So a lot of that has been exercised well to eliminate problems as we go through. We've had one property that was kind of a wild card sort of scenario, very unique situation that we did have to walk back because of a property owner's health conditions. But I expect at this point that'll be in your next round of demolitions as we restart that. We've tried to give every opportunity. Yeah, please.
I just want to remind, no matter how long you go through this, it always helps to go through this process to help understand. It's very complicated. By the time a property gets here, like you'll have a presentation tonight in council meeting, so part of the public hearing, and we'll go through that in detail. But by the time it comes here, we have reached out to that property owner, we have begged, we have sent notices, we've put stuff on the doors, we've done everything that we could as a staff to ask somebody to bring something up to code or to bring it up to the standards that we have adopted or you have adopted. By the time it comes here, we have looked at it and this is the arm that we have to say it is our intent to demolish that structure and put it on the ground because it's not fit to be refurbished, remodeled, put back in a state of repair that is 70%. Is that correct, 70%?
Well, we don't follow, we have a looser standard.
So it costs more to put it back, but that's the declaration that he and I worked together on to do it. So that the property owner we're basically making a statement that we're putting you on notice that is our intent to put that structure on the ground. They have the right to come up here and say, I want to put forward a plan to bring this back into standard. And part of that plan is got to be, they got to have the financial means of doing it. They have to have a good plan of doing it, and they have to have a schedule that we can adopt and say that is reasonable to bring that building back into standard. So it is not uncommon that we have the public show up for a meeting like tonight and that will say, it's not fair, I have a plan to do it, and Ben will walk you through that process and he'll make sure that if we have a plan, this is what a plan should have in it, and to have that, this is what we're going to need. And we've always adopted, if they can come up with a plan that meets our requirements, we give the property owners every opportunity to get that structure back into the shape it should be in. So I just wanted for all you to, you've seen those people come up here, and it's not the first time they got the notice. It's not like it was a shock. It's not anything like that, but you probably will hear public come tonight, just like every time we do these hearings, to tell their side of the story, and it's their right to do that. But the reason that Ben was doing about the announcement is to get the people to a meeting like that so we can have this conversation. So I just want to remind you of that. Thanks.
Yeah, and if I may skip ahead an item or two on your agenda, an example of that, and just because I do want to say we do always try to work with open ears and continue a conversation. One of the properties that was previously ordered for demolition, 912 Rucker, is going to be, and it's item Q, resolution Q. We're actually bringing that resolution back to you because the new property owners have been able to propose a remediation plan with that we're very excited about. So we're coming back and we'll be asking you to amend your resolution. It still will be ordered for demolition, but that will be subject to, limited by, and conditioned upon the successful completion of the remediation agreement. If they do what they say under the remediation agreement, then the order of demolition goes away. So I love that. I mean, I'd much rather save a property if we can, but again, we have to do it in a way where we know we're going to have either a successful project or a clean property at the end and not let it continue to fester. And any other questions?
When we do these, I know in the past we've sort of been able to do a bundle of them at one time. Will we attempt to do that tonight as well, or?
We will, and so once you open the public hearing, if you give me an opportunity, we're going to go through a presentation on the properties. I'm going, and then I'd like to then ask the property owners to have an opportunity to speak next. After them, the general public, and then if I could have a rebuttal at the end, just to let you know where we stand on our final recommendation. And then some of the public hearing I'm going to recommend will be with a motion to table it, and then some you can close on. And then,
One motion for
yeah.
the ones that you're going to close on.
yes,
so he could-
we'll offer that as a bundled motion
Okay.
so you don't have to take them one by one.
All right.
Also on your agenda, after these properties for demolition, you'll see that on items O and P, that there are separate public hearings there that will reach after we've dealt with the demolitions. These are properties that have been demolished by the city, and a report of cost has been made, and so we'll be recommending the adoption of those resolutions, but we at least need to have an opportunity to see if anybody's here to speak.
And those
about
will each be
costs.
done separately?
Yes, sir, those will. Yeah. Items O, P, and Q, we will need to do separately.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
So then that brings us to work authorization for Barge Design Solutions.
Yes, sir. If I may, sir, go back. The three that you have, that O through OP and Q,
Okay.
those were all structures that we took down in-house with public.
Just O and P.
O and P.
Q is a remediation.
Oh, I apologize. O and P. Those were projects that we took out of bidding out that we thought that we could do in-house. So those were assessments back on that, just to remind you of that. Those were part of phase one that we did demolish. So you'll have Q, which is that remediation agreement. And then what you're talking about is the barge, moving forward to the barge. We had a project, sir, that we have an FAA grant in place. The first phase of the runway extension project is to relocate County Road 606. And this is the engineering cost, the engineering bidding cost for that project. The way this is handled is the engineer goes and does all the design work, gets approved by the FAA. After they take it all the way to bid. After the bids are received, they put together a grant application that goes to the FAA. The FAA will fund 95% of the construction and engineering. The state splits that last 5% in half with us. The state steps up and does 2.5% of that fee, and then 2.5% is local match, which is what our funds are. So this contract gets submitted into the FAA through the state, through ALDOT. ALDOT reviews the contract and basically sends us a letter say they concur with the fees that are there and all the details that go with it. So what you have before you is a contract that's been reviewed by ALDOT, is going to be covered under the grant at 97.5% as part of the total project. But this is phase one of the airport runway extension project.
Any questions? All right. I think this is also you. Request for permission to purchase equipment.
Yes, sir. So I know we just started a new fiscal year, and yeah, as we've talked before, some of the larger equipment is hard to get. Some of the equipment that we've ordered is 6 months to 2 years out. I think we're still waiting on maybe one. I think maybe we just got it. Shannon is I think it was a year and a half took to get it in. Shannon's done a phenomenal job of going out there, and actually we have been able to locate a couple of these pieces of equipment that are in our budget. They're all approved budgeted items. And he was able to not only locate those, but to get the prices down significantly under what we had put into our budget items for the project. Why this is important, two things. One, the dump trucks that we've done, I came to the council a while back and said if we do a rotation, we use them, the city can buy dump trucks at a great price, and we can use them for a year, and then we can take it to auction. We did that this year, and basically one dump truck made money. We actually made money, used it for a year, and made money on the truck.
Wow.
The other one, it cost us, I think, was like 20 grand to do that. So for 20 grand for a year and a half, 2 years worth of use, and we have a brand new truck. So in that agreement is two dump trucks in there to put those back into the fleet. So we just got off that program, just sent those to auction. Real excited that our crew took care of the trucks, and they used them, but they took care of them, and they brought great money, and that's a great program for us to use. I'd love to get that on every one of our vehicles, that we use it for a year and basically swap out for brand-new equipment. But the other ones that I want to commend Shannon for this is you have, on top of the two dump trucks, you've got the street sweeper and the two knuckle booms that we had put into the budget to replace. Those are all budgeted items. The reason why this is so important that we do this tonight is because we know that going into November and December and the first part of January, that is our busiest season for bulk. It's also when the holidays hit us the hardest, and it's the hardest time for us to keep up with bulk garbage in the city. So having these trucks now so that we can learn to operate them, we can secure them and operate them before Thanksgiving. So we roll into this holiday season, we'll have two pieces of equipment to add to our fleet, and I hope that that keeps us on schedule or closer to on schedule than what we have seen in the past. The other one is the street sweeper that we desperately need to, as all of you have seen in your districts, of keeping the ditches clean and the streets swept up. This is a different type of sweeper, different type of equipment. And I think we discussed that in our budget hearings.
So you're adding two of the knuckle booms to help clean the debris off the side of the streets, what they're going to be used for, and you have the personnel to, it's not a replacement, but it's an addition, so you have the personnel to operate
Yes, sir.
those?
Two things. One, the two pieces of equipment these are replacements for two knuckle booms that are really like Ds. We rate ours A, B, C, D, F. These are Ds or close to being an F. We're going to put those in the shop and see what we can do to put those as a backup. The whole idea is if we get behind or we have like an automated garbage truck driver that comes in at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, his route's done, we can put him on a piece of equipment. He can go out for a few hours and do it. So we're not planning on adding any staff to this, is to make our current staff more efficient, but also having some additional resources. If a truck goes down, they have something they can put back on the street. It may not be as effective as a new truck, and it may not be as quick, but it will get the job done. And it gives us a chance to flex.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions on this? All right. This is also you.
Yes,
You
sir.
got a lot of requests tonight.
Spending money,
Request
sir.
permission to purchase storage building.
Yes, sir. We have this was not a budgeted item. However, we had a situation come up where we need to get some pieces of equipment out of the weather, things like parade floats, that kind of stuff. So this building that we have found that we saved about $40,000 on two trucks, and I'm asking that we transfer that $40,000 of saving over to a line item. We secured at least a first quote for a building that's under $20,000 to build a building. Public Works will do the concrete slab for that structure. Basically, it's a double bay metal building to keep equipment out of the rain and weather, to be put on our existing site at Mill Avenue. And basically, I'm just asking that the money we saved in one thing, if we could allow that to be changed over to a budgeted line item for something that we desperately need, not just in Public Works, but it can be used in other departments in the city as well.
Any questions? All right. Then we'll have an ABC license request for the Sizzling Claw. And that'll just be a public hearing for October 21st meeting. And we have a board appointment. Mr. Tullis, you want to speak to this appointment? I think it's been vacant the entire time, right?
Yes, sir. So for the seat 3 in the Land Bank Authority, that was one that we struggled to get a professional. So each one of the appointments for board seats 3, 4, and 5 had, somebody in the real estate profession or, somebody that was involved in community development. And seat 3 had to do with professional certifications. So somebody that was engineer, architect, building science, whatever. And so with that, we reached out to a couple of different people. One worked for Alabama Power. Alabama Power said, no, you can't serve on that board. We see it as a conflict of interest. And so that didn't happen. And some of the other people that we reached out to didn't live where they needed to live to be considered for that board. So with that, there was a name that you're familiar with that was on the board serving in seat 2, which was the council representative for that board seat. And seat 1 is the mayor or the mayor's representative. Seat 2 is a member of the council, and that was Turner Townsend. So now that he's no longer on the council, he would be eligible to serve in District 3. He would be willing to serve on that. And he would also bring some continuity because he's already familiar. We've only had 3 meetings. So it would just be a good fit if you were willing to consider him as to fill that vacancy.
Any questions? And I agree with that, since he was the one that kind of steamrolled that whole project and brought it to us.
I know you and Councilman Johnson and the mayor were with us on the League of Municipalities. We had an economic development. That's actually where we met Ben for the first time about the dangerous buildings. But they also talked about land bank. And so, really the first few years are going to be critical to the success of that. And so my thought, I know, Greg, you had asked me about the vacancy that was created for seat 2. I think rather than do it twice, I think it would be better to wait until after all the new council members are sworn in November 1st to consider filling that seat 1 and seat 2 again, rather than for the next month, fill it and then turn around and have to reappoint.
I think that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Okay.
That's good. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
And then we will recess our regular session, convene into E911 board meeting, review the minutes, review the budget, adopt the budget, and approve accounts payable, adjourn the E911 board meeting. Any questions on the E911 section? All right. And then reconvene in regular session, mayor's report and council comments. And then we will adjourn the meeting. And we're a couple minutes late on our schedule, so do this, you want to
Sure.
bring up the retiree?
So I think this is dealing with the retiree medical
Right.
benefits. I think each one of you received an email from Allison Love, our Human Resource Director, regarding that. I wanted to give you an opportunity to understand, what we did. We haven't changed anything. We're simply following the policy that has been adopted by the council, not just in the current handbook, but in the handbook prior to that. So this is probably 15, 20 years or longer of policy, but we weren't following it. So when Allison brought that to my attention, I said, well, we don't have an option on not to follow it. So we need to give notice. First, we gave notice to you, and we expect to give notice to potentially impacted employees over the next week. So with that, I want Allison to kind of walk you through what you see maybe on your screens there. What I will tell you is, one, morally, legally, and ethically, I don't think staff has the ability to pick, what to do on council-adopted actions when we have them, and we're aware of it. So I think that it was great that Allison found that. I think that it certainly shows that we have not been following a policy for a long time that, pushing around $300,000 net impact to the city on funds that shouldn't be spent there, according to our policy. Again, this would not be to change anything other than what they agreed on. Every employee signs a release saying that they received a copy of the handbook when they come and are gainfully employed at the city. These are the same benefits that they were promised to them. We have just not been holding ourselves and the employees, once they retire, to the same standard. So, Allison.
So does anybody have any questions first about the email that I had sent?
Does anyone have questions for? Okay.
So currently, if you can see on the spreadsheet, kind of the top is what we're currently paying, and that cost split, the monthly retiree cost has stayed the same for many years that I had revenue pull some records, and those rates have not changed. So every time there was an increase, then the city took on that increase, and that retiree amount stayed the same. In our policy, in that email I did cut and paste the policy, and so the policy states that once someone retires, that the city will cover 50% of the cost of the single coverage health insurance, and then if they want family coverage, then they would be responsible, of course, for the other 50% of the single coverage and then 100% of the family coverage. And then the policy states, once they become eligible for Medicare, because at that point, the cost drops drastically because that becomes just a supplemental policy. So then they can still remain on the policy if they so choose, but at that point, the retiree would become 100% responsible for the cost of that coverage if they choose to stay on it. And so giving them notification about the new rates, this will give them, like Greg had mentioned in his response, this will give them, plenty of time to research other options available to them, such as, getting insurance through the healthcare exchange or, the marketplace coverage. And then, just being able to make plans for costs that may be increasing to them.
So that dollar amount that was given earlier, is that an annual amount that we've been spending?
Yes.
Okay.
How long has this issue been going on? Like how long, is there an estimate of how long we've been out of compliance of the policy?
I would have to say, I'm not sure, but based on just me looking at it, at the cost, the monthly retiree cost, I would have to say that if we were following the policy at one point in time, based on these costs, it looks maybe 15, 20 years.
Wow.
If some of these decide to get help elsewhere, do you expect that our current rate would go down because of the average age of the participant would decrease?
I don't think so because the coverage is through local government. So yeah, I don't think that will necessarily affect the premium.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any other questions?
Well, one, I just want to make sure that one of the reasons that we're bringing this up is that we anticipate when our retirees, there's 62 of them, get notice of this, that whether it's through social media or, email, phone calls, there will be people that are noticeably upset about it because it will impact them. Again, I will point out that probably for 15 to 20 years, those retirees have enjoyed the city's mistake in equity. We have employees that are paying more for health coverage than our retirees, if we're looking at this model, which I also don't think is fair. So regardless of what the council chooses to do, a council adopted this policy, and this current administration adopted it when we kept it in the handbook most recently. So, we don't have a decision on whether or not we can follow it. However, if you choose to change that or want to look at that, those are certainly things that you'll be able to do. But again, this is, it's not fair to the current employees. The impact will be substantial for some of our retirees, but they have enjoyed, however long they've been retired, the benefit of our error. I mean, we're not going back retroactively to demand revenue. That's certainly not the case, but I did want to make sure that was on record.
Now, I believe it's my understanding that during some of the research that you found that this policy is standard across the state?
Yeah, so when I contacted local government to just kind of inquire about what other agencies might be doing, she did tell me, and her name is Meg, she's our program integrity manager, or the program integrity manager with local government. She did inform me that the policy that we have is pretty standard for the city paying 50% of the retiree, the single coverage, and then not paying anything once they become eligible for Medicare, and the retiree being responsible for 100% of the dependent portion if they choose to add a dependent on there. She told me that that was pretty standard, and I told her, the kind of our cost sharing model right now, how the split was, and she was pretty shocked. She said that we by far pay way more than any other agency that is with local government in the state. We pay way more for the retiree coverage than other agencies do. So, yeah, so we've got currently you see for the retiree being eligible for Medicare and the dependent being eligible for Medicare, you see right now the city is only charging, the city's paying $41.50 towards that. The retiree is paying $38.50, but yet you've got another, like the retiree non-Medicare and the dependent non-Medicare, the city's paying almost $1,800 a month for that one. So the cost sharing doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me how these rates were established.
So, and you saying it's about 62? What's the number of retirees?
There's about,
roughly?
I think there was about 62, 60, between 60 and 65 individuals that are on it.
And again, what's the plan to notify them and, I guess the next cycle, when this is gonna,
Letters would be going out this
Change.
week, and then the new rates, they would actually, because the new policy year starts in January, but they do have to pay a month in advance for the coverage, just as we deduct a month in advance for our current employees. So the new rates would be due in December, but through the healthcare exchange or the marketplace, that open enrollment period is from November 15th through maybe mid-January, somewhere around in there. So they would have plenty of time to look for other coverage,
is that
should they
gonna
want to
be,
come after ours,
is that
come
gonna
off
be
of ours.
included in what you're gonna submit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I am going to list other avenues where they can look for other coverage if they choose to come off of ours.
Any further questions on this subject? All right. Thank you very much. I would like to say thank you, Allison, for digging into that and finding this, because when we passed the most recent handbook, it was under the assumption this was being done, and this was at least my intent when I voted on that handbook, that it stay this way. So thank you for finding that and correcting it.
So call her equal eye.
And I'll just go ahead and add, I think that that's just one more example of how getting a team of professionals running various departments in the city has made a huge impact on not only the quality, the efficiency, but the finances of the city.
Amen.
Yes, sir. Allison's been doing a great job.
Thank you, Alice.
Thank you, Allison.
All right, I think we're going to do our strategic planning meeting date now, unless you had something else.
No, sir.
Okay. So, you have a recommendation?
Typically, we wait until the holiday season is over, sometime in January. Is the first target for that strategic planning process. We also had the consideration if you wanted to use the same outside team that you used last year.
Yeah, I don't know if I've told Councilman Walls yet, but when we do these, this last year, we brought in an outside facilitator so that to keep the momentum going and help us put things on the board without personal opinions.
Stay on track.
Stay on track, and it seemed to really help. So our goal has been to do that again. And so I think it makes a lot of sense to go ahead and try to get this on the calendar so we can get the, yeah. Let me get my new lips on here. Is everyone okay with continuing with the same facilitator?
That's fine. Mhm.
I agree.
Okay. You are for sure, right?
I'm sure, let's do it.
I will abstain from commenting, so I won't be here.
So you come sit in and watch. So sometime after the 1st of January, do you have you had an opportunity to communicate with our facilitator to see if they have any openings or?
I have not. And I haven't checked with the Civic Center to find out what events might be booked, but figured we would, this far out, we may have a good opportunity to nail something down. We've typically done kind of a 6 to 7 hour day for this at the Civic Center. Is that still a good location and window? Maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock till, about 2.
Yeah.
It seems like it's worked well.
Yes, sir. I'll look here on the holiday schedule for January. Looks like the 1st is on a Thursday. And then
The 5th.
it looks like we have a holiday on the 19th as well, which is a Monday. So maybe
We
that,
already have city councils on the 6th and the 20th.
maybe the week of the 12th or the week of the 26th.
If we do the week of the 12th, don't we follow up kind of right after that meeting with our council meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
So that would that give you time to, if we did like maybe the 13th, I guess, something like that?
Yes, ma'am. We would have time. I think if we continue along that process at the end of the strategic planning meetings, particularly this one, I think this would be a new quadrennium for the elected officials. You would set okay, 13th water board. Okay. So you would have a 4-year vision, typically. That's how we did it last time. So Vision 2029. And then, at the end of that, what are we doing in 2026 to accomplish the goals so that we hit the mark by 29? And then, so by the end of that meeting, I should have your first, second, third, and fourth quarter goals pretty well identified, and there may be some movement, particularly early on in the year. We may hit roadblocks. We may find things need to move, from first quarter to third quarter or something like that. Whereas, like this quarter, when I came to you about an hour ago, we're just wrapping up the last few things from what we did 4.5 years ago. So I think that'll be the biggest difference. But yes, I should have plenty of time to get that to you and develop an agenda for the work session.
So water board being on the 13th, I guess that would cause a problem, right?
It would if the mayor and our council member who serves on the water board would like to attend the meeting.
Okay. So probably shouldn't do it the 13th then.
12. I have a 14th, looks pretty open. Mayor, you have a gas board meeting on the 15th. And then the 16th is open as well.
Well, for that week, I would since we can't do the 13th, my preference would be the 14th, but does anyone else have a?
I'm good with 14.
They'll have to talk with the Lions Club. That's normally the Lions Club on the 14th, but that, we
Are they here?
moved them out.
Are they in here?
Yeah, right over there.
Might want to attend the meeting.
Take a lunch break then. No, the 14th's good.
But we can, if
Or
you,
Monday the
last year we
12th.
did it on this side, here. So there, I mean, there's enough space even if the Lions Club wanted to meet. I think they were set up on this side and a similar thing happened last year, if I'm not
It'll work.
mistaken.
Okay.
So 14th?
It could. We could alternately do it at the farmer's market. That's a good point. It'll be available.
We'll be back.
On the what day? What's the alternate? date?
January 14th.
14th.
There's the alternate side of the farmer's market.
Okay. That's plenty of room.
Give me another option to check. So I could do farmer's market as the primary if it's available. That's where we'll go. If it's not, I'll check the Civic Center availability.
Everybody good with that?
That's good.
Okay.
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 Anything else before we go into our regular meeting here shortly?
No, sir. Not for me.
Council have anything? No. All right, well, we will adjourn the work session. Be back at 6 o'clock for the regular meeting. stand for the opening prayer, which will be given by Pastor Alfred Townsend of New Way Church.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you so much for this community in which we live. We thank you for this wonderful city council that we have and for our mayor and his entire staff. And Father, we thank you that all is well in the city of Enterprise. We thank you that you continue to give these, your representative, the wisdom and the knowledge to conduct proper government in this town in which we live. We thank you, Father, for our entire police force. We ask thy divine protection upon each and every one of the representatives that as they go out time and time again to represent us. And now, Lord, bless this meeting. Let there be no division or strife here, for we know that you are here among us. And we give you all the praise, we give you all the glory, we give you all the honor. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I call for a motion to approve the agenda of the meeting as submitted.
I move to approve the agenda of the meeting as submitted.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion is approved. All right, we will now do the consideration of the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the council for review. Are considered to be routine will be enacted by one motion of the City Council with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda by the request of a member of the City Council. I call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. All right, Mayor, I believe you have a proclamation.
First, I would like to say good evening to everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here to honor a group that has made a lasting impact on our community, the Luncheon Powell Club of Enterprise. Their dedication to service, leadership, and friendship has touched so many lives. To formally recognize their contributions, I would like to invite Tammy Dewar, our Director of Tourism and Community Relations, to read the proclamation. And we would like to ask the ladies to come up. Okay, sure.
Ladies, if you'll join us over here with Mayor. Mayor, you'll stay with me over here. We're a sea of green here, I see. Wonderful. All right, Mayor, I'll start. I'm a little shorter than you, I gotta come down. And I'm gonna read the proclamation. Whereas Pilot International was founded as a volunteer service organization for business and professional women in Macon, Georgia on October 18th, 1921, and whereas from its beginning, Pilot International has been dedicated to influencing positive change in communities around the world through service and leadership. And whereas members of the Pilot International come together in friendship and service, focusing on encouraging brain safety and health, and supporting those who care for others. And whereas the Pilot International Founders Fund, established in 1975 to advance Pilot's humanitarian mission, has awarded more than $3.5 million in grants and scholarships to Pilots clubs, districts, and students pursuing higher education. And whereas Pilot International Clubs prepare youth and young adults for a lifetime of service by providing opportunities to develop leadership skills and participate in meaningful community projects. And whereas the Luncheon Pilot Club of Enterprise continues to serve not only the citizens of Enterprise, but the entire Wiregrass region, exemplifying the organization's commitment to service and community betterment.
Now therefore, I, William E. Cooper, Mayor of the City of Enterprise, do hereby proclaim October 18th, 2025 as Pilot International Founders Day in the City of Enterprise, and commend the Luncheon Pilot Club of Enterprise for their outstanding contributions, leadership, and dedication to improving our community through friendship, service, and education. I will now officially sign the proclamation.
All right, Mayor, we'll now recognize and honor the Main Street Alabama 2025 award recipients, along with Main Street Enterprise Director Lily McDaniel.
It is my pleasure to celebrate the outstanding accomplishments of Main Street Enterprise. Our downtown has become a vibrant hub of a community, creativity, and opportunity, and it is thanks to the dedication of our business owners, volunteers, and residents. To help me recognize these achievements, I would like to introduce Lily McDaniel to highlight each one of the awards earned by the Enterprise at the 2025 Main Street Alabama Awards of Excellence.
Thank you, Mayor. During our annual conference in Jasper, we received the following awards, and we are so proud to present our progress this year. First, Excellence in Signage and Wayfinding, the Rawls Restaurant Signage. The Gay family, current owners of the Rawls, worked with Patrick Welding of Brand Builder Signs to restore the iconic exterior signage inspired by a 1936 photo. With careful attention to detail, this $47,000 project preserved the building's heritage while reflecting its modern role as a restaurant. Second, we have Excellence in Building Design, Non-Historic, Par and Pour Indoor Golf and Cocktail Venue. Par and Pour transformed a former antique store and overgrown lot into a premier entertainment destination featuring golf simulators, a stylish lounge, and The Yard, outdoor community space with food trucks, live music, and games. Third, we have Excellence in Business Promotion, Gilmore Girls Downtown Crawl. Created by Sixto Bottle and Growler House, this themed event series united several local businesses and fans of the show Gilmore Girls, growing into 8 events, 14 businesses, and more than 320 attendees. This one is really special. Sixto's mission was to bring new faces to downtown, drive traffic to local businesses. Ticket sales over 8 events totaled $18,353 and created a huge economic impact for all participating merchants. Fourth, we have Excellence in Promotion, the Nook at Night concert series. Held every Friday in the summer of 2024, the series brought music, food, and community spirit to downtown Enterprise, activating the Nook and giving local performers and vendors a platform to shine. And fifth, but not last, our Main Street hero was Lila Falk. She's not with us tonight, and we don't have an award for her, but just to recognize, she was our student worker since December 2024. Lila stepped up during a 5-month absence of a program director, guiding the team with leadership, dedication, and focus. Her contributions have been vital to the continued success of Main Street Enterprise. And with that, thank you.
These awards truly reflect the energy, creativity, and passion of our business owners, volunteers, and community members. We are blessed with a vibrant downtown that honors our history while embracing invocation and opportunity. I want to personally thank everyone who contributed to making the Main Street Enterprise a thriving and a welcome place. Your dedication, vision, and community spirit make all of this possible. Congratulations.
All right, this is the part of the meeting where anyone in attendance tonight who wishes to address the council may do so for 3 minutes. If there is a public hearing on the agenda for the topic you are concerned with, please wait until that public hearing opens to address the council. If they choose, staff, mayor, and council will respond to your comments during the appointed times later in the meeting. Repetitive, disruptive, and disparaging comments will not be tolerated. If you're found out of order, your privileges can and will be revoked. Does anyone wish to address the council at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to staff reports. Is there any staff that needs to make a report that was not able to do so during work session? All right, we'll move into old business. Review and consider ordinance 09-1625C. Call for consideration of ordinance 09-1625C, providing for the sale of 0.42 acres of property on Lester Drive to Turner Orthodontics Properties, LLC, at a cost of $19,400.
I move to adopt ordinance 09-1625C.
Second.
Any questions? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Review and consider bid recommendation. Introduce and call for consideration of a recommendation from David Ewing, CDBG Program Administrator, to award the bid for the 2024 CDBG Demolition Project, Phase 1, to Lewis Incorporated in the amount of $98,919. Other bids received are as follows: Hughes Construction Services, $202,600, and Arc Remediation LLC, $339,170. Do I have a motion?
I move to award the bid for Phase 1 of the 2024 CDBG demolition project to Lewis, Inc. in the amount of $98,919.
Second.
All right. Any discussion?
Mr. President, just for the record, in case anybody's asking the question in their head that you asked in the work session about the glaring differences in the amounts of the bids. We're not just, should it pass a vote, we're not just choosing that bid just because it's $100,000 less per se, but it was recommended it is a good bid, it's comparable to the work that's going to be done.
Yes, and earlier we were discussing that David Ewing, the program administrator, said that was the expected amount that he expected to have seen anyway. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, now we'll move to new business. We have a public hearing for nuisance properties and dangerous buildings. Call for a public hearing to hear, consider, and act upon all objections or protests, if any, for the removal of an unsafe structure to the extent that it has become a public nuisance at the following properties: 109 Beverly Drive, 206 Mill Avenue, 216 Pleasure Street, 307 West Hildreth Avenue, 400 Aaron Street, 402 Grimes Street, 404 Chambers Street, 406 Dixie Drive, 406 North Watson Street, 408 Grimes Street, 516 Friendship Street, 519 West Hildreth Avenue, 525 Damascus Road, 609 Grand Pine Drive, 712 South Main Street. Mr. Goldman.
Good evening. Thank you. Mayor, members of the council, as you know, my name is Ben Goldman. I'm an attorney for the city. And for the properties that are set this evening, we want to make sure, we're going to go through and we're going to show you some photographs, and we're going to have some discussions about the properties that are set for hearing. But before you have evidentiary packets for each of the properties that were listed. These contain the initial courtesy 20-day letter that was mailed out for the property, the first list pendants that was issued, and then an amended and restated list pendants that continued the initial date for the hearing until this evening. So some additional time was given there. And then information about service of the list pendants under certified mail is included, and then also photographs. So a copy of that is on file with the city clerk, and we just ask that that would be taken into consideration as evidence during this public hearing tonight. But before we get into each of those properties, I do want to say that after I conclude, my recommendation to the chair will be to give anyone who has an interest in the property the ability to come forward and speak, and then next to move to the general public. And then I would ask for an opportunity at the end to readdress the council just to make a final recommendation, having heard from everyone. But to make sure that we adequately address the properties that are at issue tonight, and that everyone who needs to will get a chance to speak, before I begin the presentation on the properties, I would ask that if anyone who is here who has an interest in the property, that they just come forward at this time and simply state their name and the property address that they're interested in, so that we can make sure that that's reflected in the minutes. State your name and the property at this time, and we'll have additional time to speak later.
All right. My name is Gabriel Espada, here for the property for 406 Dixie Drive. Yes, I'm their son, and I'm in representation.
Thank you.
What's your name, sir? It's Mr. Ibrahim.
All right, if you just state your name and the address of that property, please.
Yeah, my name is Isamuddin Ibrahim. The address 712 South Main Street, Enterprise.
Couldn't hear him. What was the address?
It's 712 South Main Street.
Are you Mr. Bailey?
No, I'm a Reverend Dawson at that. I'm in from Will to Eagle Baptist Church.
Tell me your name again. Reverend.
Reverend James Dawson.
All right, so for some reason, addresses are the same. People are using those.
Reverend James. No, see, where did the house is gone, off to the house, but across the street, you know, one that, one on the side.
So, I know the situation, but basically, they own the land across from the street of the house that we're trying to tear down. Both of them are address for us. Reverend, if you just state your name and address, and then
My name is Reverend James Doster, representing the property on Grimes Street, 402 Grimes.
thank you, sir.
Ron Wheeler?
Is that you on your shoulder?
Yes,
Brian?
sir.
You said Brian?
Brian Wheeler, the owner of 307 West Childreth. I've been in touch with the engineering department concerning this property up until today as far as abatement and some other things that I can do for the property. But I decided to come and voice anyway. Thank you.
So just a question. I want my property destroyed. Should I be up here?
What's your,
On
what's your
109 Public Drive.
You're Mr. Perry?
Correct. Yes, sir.
So just state your name and the address, and then you can come forward later and just let the council know that.
Okay.
But
Yes, sir.
right now, just your name and the address.
Marcus Perry, 109 Beverly Drive. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, thank you. So at this time, I would ask Mr. Thomas Hardy, the building official, to come join me. He has prepared a presentation on these properties, and he's going to share that with you this time.
Council, we'll go through this presentation. I put the presentation in order. This should be with your agenda. So we'll start with 109 Beverly, and then we'll go all the way down to the 712 South Main Street. If there's any questions that you have, please stop me. I'd be happy to answer it, and I'll just give you a brief history of the property as we move through. This is 109 Beverly Street. This home has been vacant for a while. It's gotten considerable damage to the roof system. It's dilapidated. There's evidence of probably a partial infestation of bats and such in the opening of the roof. We do recommend demolition for this property. This is 206 Mill Ave. As you can see from the two pictures, this property was actually demolished last week. They came in, demolished it, it's filled with 4 dumpsters. They still have some work to do to continue to bring it into compliance with how we would want it. That includes bringing up the foundation, resodding the lot, evening it out, things of that nature. So we are going to recommend to, I believe, continue this property just to give them the time to finish that out. But they did abate this property themselves. .216 Pleasure Street. This property was in, believe it or not, a little bit worse condition than you currently see it. There was a building permit that was purchased for this property. They began to do work on the property, but they failed to call in any inspections for the property, and then they covered up electrical, plumbing, things of that nature that we were not able to inspect, nor do we know if they brought it up to code. The house is still dilapidated on the back end with many of the windows still boarded up, and was considerable structural damage inside the property before the renovations began. This is 307 West Hildreth Avenue. As you can see, it has decay and dilapidation issues. I have spoken with the owner about potentially remedying this situation. I do think that we can come to some type of understanding to be able to do that, and we will work with the property owner, but it is in condition that we would consider it for demolition. 400 Aaron Street is a dilapidated structure that's actually located in the backyard of a primary structure that is off of Delville Avenue. They had been wanting to, there had been issues with water damage, there's structural issues with it. We were actually able to offer them the Community Development Block Grant that they're going to take advantage of, and they have signed that up, so this should be abated by that program. It should qualify. Uh, 402 Grimes Street. This property has been empty for a considerable amount of time. The only activity we have in the property is sometimes vagrant activity. If you can tell the door at the very bottom, there's a trash bag on the door. We've actually witnessed ourselves people climbing in and out of the trash, or the opening in the bottom of the door that's covered by that trash bag. Considerable amount of decay, damage, and dilapidation. We're going to recommend this for demolition. Yes. Yes. Okay, so 402 Grimes, within our addressing, or within the GIS system, 402 Grimes is assigned to two different parcels of property. So 402 Grimes on the corner right here, I believe this is the corner of Grimes and Ellis. And then across the street from this piece of property is also addressed as 402 Grimes. But they are, I believe, do have separate ownerships. But because of that addressing, that is the reason why the church was notified of the property, even though the church does not have any responsibility for this piece of property, and they do not have any objections with this piece of property being torn down. 404 Chambers Street. This is on the corner of Chambers, Grimes, and Geneva Highway. It's just an old, dilapidated piece of property. There had been some vagrant activity in there with people breaking in, damaging the inside. There's openings throughout the property for some type of infestation of any type of animal when you have those large gaps like that where animals can get in. There's some structural damage, there's roof damage, and there are some foundational issues as well. The house is close to 100 years old and it's just showing its age. So 406 Dixie Drive, I will say to the credit of the owner, the property has improved gradually, but in a big faction over the last several months. The outside is now completely cleaned up. The backyard is now completely cleaned up. They have a contract with a lawn care company to keep it that way. They have a dumpster in the front yard, and they have probably 30-yard dumpster, so probably ran through about 5 different loads of stuff that they have carried off as they try to remedy the issues that are inside and outside of the house. There are some issues with the roof system. There were some holes. There were some suspected infestations, things of that nature. There is significant damage on the inside of the property. You should be able to find those pictures. I either emailed them to you or they are inside your evidence binder. They should be sticking out of the side of the binder if you see those. We are going to recommend, or at least recommend I believe, we would recommend to demo this property in its current state. 406 North Watson Street. This is just a ran down, dilapidated structure. As you can see from the painted over X on the front of the building, this was actually signed up for the demo grant, I believe in either the 2018 cycle or the 2021 cycle of the grant. The property owner pulled it from the grant program is the reason why it was not demolished, but it was approved to be demolished. And I'll just make you familiar with it, the grant program requires there to be at least 70% dilapidation or deterioration. It met those requirements back when it was originally accepted on the grant, and it has just gotten worse as age and weathering and things like that have persisted. 408 Grimes Street, it's a old, dilapidated, decayed home. There's structural damage. The house is not livable. There is electrical issues. There's plumbing issues. Nobody has lived in the house in several years. We were able to get in touch with the property owners, and they will take advantage of the community development block grant. 516 Friendship Street is a completely decayed property. A good gust of wind, and it probably is going to fall over. We have tried to get in contact with the owners several times throughout the years to get this piece of property on our community development block grant with no success. So that's the reason why we're bringing it through the initiative process to try to clean that area up. I know Friendship Street is kind of getting a little bit going by itself. Got some new street lights over there, some new renovations, and even a new house on that street. So trying to clean up that area directly off of Delville Avenue. 519 West Hildred Avenue is another piece of property that is completely decayed. It's been gutted completely. Everything's been stolen out of it, the windows, the electrical, anything of value, basically just leaving a shell. The property has been like this for a considerable amount of time with no improvement from the property owner. We've spoken with him several times. We've had issues with vagrancy in this area as well. And so we would recommend to demolish. 525 Damascus Road. The property is just in a state of disrepair. There's foundational issues, there's roof system issues, there's water damage, there's signs of infestation. We were able to actually, as latest of today, we're able to secure the application for the community development block grant, and this will be going on that. 609 Grand Pine Drive. There is considerable damage to the roof system, as you can tell, but also the inside of the property at one point, I believe, was going to be under renovation. It was completely gutted out. It's nothing but bones, but there's a considerable amount of water damage to the inside of the property due to the issues with the roof system, and we would recommend to demolish. So this would be South Main Street, 712 South Main Street. This is the old Cannon Station. This piece of property has been sitting without a roof for close to a year at this point, and beforehand it was already showing signs of dilapidation. If the building wasn't a block building, it would already be on the ground. With the amount of weathering that this is sustaining, all the electrical components inside have been open to the elements as well. And there's just considerable dilapidation to both the structure and the awning that is on the property. We would recommend to demolish. And that would be the end of the properties that we have before you today.
Mr. Chairman, one thing I want to add, I think pictures say a lot for what this is. This is not something that we've brought tonight lighthearted. This is something we've been working on for a while, trying to get these cleaned up. So if we come here tonight making a recommendation to demolish, it's not that we take that lightly. One thing I want to tell you about, Thomas mentioned it, but I just want to make sure we're clear. Just because someone says we're going to sign it up on the CDBG project, just like you saw the photograph that had the red X that was painted over it, we're still going to make a recommendation tonight for you to declare these buildings to be demolished. If they want to sign up on the CDBG and if they follow through on that process, that is a grant process that won't cost the property owner anything if they follow through on it. in the event they don't follow through and don't use the CDBG, we still have this as a tool in our toolbox to continue down the path to get these buildings on the ground. So just because I don't want you to get confused, it says it's going to go on the CDBG project. That's what we've heard from the property owners. That's their intent, to put them on the CDBG, but we'll still make a recommendation tonight to put this on the demolition list, but we'll give the owner the opportunity to put those on CDBG if they desire to do so.
All right. As one other item, I'd like to take just a second of testimony from Mr. Mott, because he is your appropriate municipal official, and he was the one who made the substantive findings in the Liz pendants that are before you. And as you've heard, there are several of these that, again, we'll recommend be continued tonight for different reasons. Some because we're working on remediation agreements. Others, they have to deal with ongoing issues with the property themselves. But I would like to ask Mr. Mott, is it your opinion as to each and every one of these properties that were set for public hearing tonight, and as stated in the Liz pendants, that they are unsafe to the extent that they are a public nuisance and due to be demolished?
Yes, that's my opinion.
And are all the findings that you made in the Liz pendants, both originally and in its amended form, are those still true and correct today?
Yes, they are.
All right. Are there any questions for your staff before we open up to the public for comment, or to the property owners for comment next?
I had one question about 712 South Main with the recommendation to demolish the storage tanks that are located underneath the fuel island. Do we have a plan for those?
So the scope of the work that we would accomplish would be just the building itself and the awning. We would have to work with environmental and things of that nature to remove those tanks. We have discussed that internally with other agencies to be able to potentially put together a plan for that, but that is very preliminary at this point. We would just focus on getting rid of the nuisance that is currently available, and then handle the, I guess, the unseen nuisance underground at a later date.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, then I think it would be appropriate at this time to hear from the property owners that wish to speak.
All right. If there's any property owners that would like to speak on behalf of your property, please do so at this time.
Yes, sir. I guess I would like to start off saying that go ahead and demolish my property. Go ahead and do it. Okay, but I think it's a shame that it's got to be demolished, because I was in the process of bringing the property back up to par. I had a contractor off the Angie list. That's a list where you go on the internet and get the professionals to come out and fix your house. So that's what I did. Unfortunately, I got ripped off. That's 109 Beverly Drive, sir. But I got ripped off. I spent over $7,000 for that guy to do my roof, but 2 days later, the city of Enterprise came on my property and kicked them off. And they said that he didn't have the right credentials to finish the job. Okay? So he went back and forth arguing with the city of Enterprise, and eventually said that he would do what the city of Enterprise told him he needed to do in order to finish the work on my house. He said he would do that. But to make a long story short, he did in fact not do that. But that put me in a situation where I'm trying to remedy the situation with the house. I didn't spend all my money, I didn't spend all my money for him to do a job that was halfway done before the city of Enterprise came by and stopped him from doing the work. I get paid I don't get paid like most people, I guess. I don't know. I'm retired. But my point here is that I was in the process of fixing 109 Beverly Drive up to par, because it's embarrassing for it to be like that. It's a mystery how the big hole got in my house, my roof in the first place, but because the other parts are deteriorating, it's understandable why, okay? But my point here is that I was attempting to restore the house. And now I'm out of so much money, it's pathetic that the neighbor have most of my belongings because my house is condemned now. It's crazy. And today, the people that came to, got me an iPod to put some of my belongings in the iPod, it's full. So I end up giving the furniture and things of that nature to the doggone, the person that dropped off the iPod. He took off with the rest of my stuff. So my point here, again, is that I think it's a shame that not really due to my fault, other than the initial neglect of the house, that's absolutely my fault. However, I attempted to remedy the situation, and then I got stopped cold, and I do not have the money to remedy the situation immediately again. I can, 3 or 4 months from down the line, I can make that house look brand new. Had they allowed him to finish the roof, it would have been the best house on the block. Okay, but I am nervous. I do apologize, but I'm content. Go ahead and condemn it. Go ahead and condemn it, tear it down, and I still have items in there, but I just don't have the strength or the time or the friends to remedy the situation, although I have an iPod. Is it an iPod? Whatever it is called. Most of my stuff is in that iPod. Okay, well, that's all. But yes, go ahead and condemn it. It's fine. It's fine. But I think it's a shame that it's being condemned. Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name's Gabriel Espada for 406 Dixie Drive. So as far as what's going on with the property for 406 Dixie Drive, my parents currently aren't there. The property, got overgrown and had, issues. So I've gone with Mr. Thomas Hardy here, and have done, my current best in remedying those particular issues. The first couple issues were with the outside, obviously, its particular upkeep and how it looked in general. So what I've personally done there is I've hired contractors and so forth to get that property cleaned up, and, it looks a lot better now, by all means. We've removed about 5 dumpsters worth of material. That's including outside and inside the house. There was a above-ground pool that was actually located in the back of the yard that had no inner lining, so it wasn't necessarily a nuisance as far as like insects or anything of the sort, like mosquitoes, but that has actually been removed. Also, the overgrowth in the front yard has been, trimmed back and tamed. I currently have a company, sorry, give me a second here, Powerhouse Property Solutions, LLC, that currently will be coming out monthly in order to keep the, maintenance not only on the lawn, but the plants, trees, and so forth, including the back. With the nuisance issue as far as like any vermin around or in the property, I've contracted with Orkin for 1 year to show, trying to really get everything up to par with that 1 year every month with, removal and control of vermin. I also had an inspection done actually this Monday with with everything that was going on. There was no finding of any like bats, but there was finding of like mice, rats, insects of that sort. So, thank you, sir. So they were, they've already laid down, the traps and everything to take care of that particular situation. As far as the roof, so the ceiling does have some water damage, and the roof does need repair or replacement. I've gotten in contact with the company Affordable Pro Roofing. I haven't established an exact date as far as an estimate, but that is the company I'm fairly sure I'm going to be going with as far as a replacement as a metal roof. I'm hoping to have like an estimate done within the next 2 to 3 weeks. The general game plan is to have everything renovated and begin moving in by February. The kitchen does need repair, i.e. it needs the counters removed and some of the appliances removed. I've actually looked into removing that. The city does offer that as far as it, putting it on the side of the road, and they'll be able to pick it up. From my current understanding, when I called, their current vehicle that actually handles that is under repair. So I'm currently doing research to see if I can get that removed other ways, because it's like a fridge and freezer, so to speak, and that has Freon, the current dumpster company I've implemented that's been removing the material and everything. When I call them to come pick it up and so forth, does not offer that. I do currently have 2 vehicles on the property. They are up to date with their tags and everything. So they do have some mobility issues that we're trying to resolve as well with those. But the general thing with the property is I'm trying to do the best I can in representation of my family that's currently not there to fix up the property completely, up to date, and with the plan of moving there and making sure that it has like constant maintenance and so forth, in regards to the lawn and the inside, and the inside. So I would ask that it definitely, wouldn't be demolished or anything. We are making all the efforts we possibly can, especially with my schedule and so forth, to bring it all up to date. And, we're having constant progress, and we'll do whatever is required. As I mentioned before, a remediation agreement of our progress and continue to make sure that it's not an actual nuisance or anything. Thank you for your time.
My name is Reverend Dawson. I'm here about 402 Grimes Street. What it is, I just want to get a clear understanding about something. The house is gone. We also did the cleanup. So is there anything else that we need to do to get this property straight?
So it's not the same, so it's the same address. Hold on one second, let me confirm this. So I will explain it. I'll show it to him on the map. But the reason why the confusion is because his piece of property was 402 Grimes Street. But they're also on the corner, there's a 402 Grimes Street with a dilapidated property on it right now. That is not the Reverend's property that's in question. But because of some addressing issues that we're incurring, that's the reason why it's sharing that address, and that's the reason why we have that confusion.
So basically, right here, you see how this comes up as 402 Grimes Street. This is yours, right? Comes up as 402 Grimes Street. They have the same address, but they're different owners, okay? So it's not going to affect your property, none, okay?
Okay, then.
Yeah, they have different parcel numbers and everything.
Okay. So you want me to wait?
No, you're good. If that satisfies you, you're good.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Isam Ibrahim for Building 712 South Main Street. I bought this building from 2 years ago, and after I get myself and I start getting money, I start as he said, like 1 year ago, I remove the roof. The removing the roof is making that building look like, yes, something unsafety, but it wasn't bad building. It's old building. It is from bricks, blocks, and it's very strong. Even if I put new building now, it's not going to be strong as that building. It's just no roof on it. It make it look like that very bad. The time I came, it happened in this year. Some family issues after I have money. Somebody have a cancer, I spend it. After that, the time I get money and I start working on that building, I found those letters. This letter is just like it scared me, and I don't know what to do. And I start emailing them and telling them I'm working in this building. I'm going to put the roof, and I'm going to bring the electrical. I'm going to put it back again as a safety good building. But all the email is just going like, I don't know what the process is going to go. But for myself, I have the money now. If like from tomorrow, I just was waiting for this to know what my next step to start. If it is tomorrow, I can contact my guy. He removes the roof. We're going to start to put the roof, to work inside, to put the building back again, to make it like a small business. But the way now is scaring me for them to demolish it, and I'm just going to be like back 5 years ago. I'm going to start paying money for what it happened instead of going forward. Please consider like I have money now to start on this building, to put the roof, to work inside, to paint it. It's small, it's not big building. It's just like 500, I don't know. It's very small building. It's very easy to maintain, very easy to work on it, very easy. Everything is happen in good amount. It's not that big amount. It's going to be a good place. I'm just like telling them, and I need to guide me from here, what I need to do for my next 2-3 months. It will be good. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak on the property? Mr. Goldman?
If not, then if we could give the general public an opportunity for these particular properties.
You coming to speak on your?
Brian Wheeler, 307 West Hildreth. If you all received my request from 9/16, it pretty well lays out my case. And I will say that I have been in contact with Mr. Thomas with the engineering department. And I've been informed that it's not so much a safety issue as it is a matter of a dwelling being used for storage. It is an ancillary property that I bought for another property I have there that belonged to my grandmother, and it is being used for storage, but I was at the courthouse, and they can possibly have it considered part of the same property. And please take that into consideration.
Thank you. Is there any members of the general public that would like to speak?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Lorenzo Harrison, and I come to say thank the city for trying to clean up our city. I know the first round that was done has certain areas look good, and I'd like to thank the staff for what they're doing and for presenting all this to us. And I know that if things going to be done for a property, most times you don't wait till somebody come to you at the last minute, because as stated, property owners have known ahead of time the things that need to be done. I do feel for property owners for things that happen to their property, where it's through weather or just left out there. But I appreciate what you all are doing, and I think that appreciate it, and thank you for moving forward.
Thank you. Any other members of the general public that would like to speak tonight? Staff, Mr. Goldman?
Thank you. So if we can go through these, I'm going to tell you our specific recommendations for this evening as to each one, and then I'll perhaps suggest a form of a motion to proceed from there. And this is going in the order on your agenda. On 109 Beverly Drive, we do recommend proceeding with demolition. On 206 Mill Avenue, we're recommending that one be continued until, and all the continuances that we're recommending tonight would be until your December 2nd meeting. And the reason for that one is to give them the opportunity to finish that last bit of demolition that's already underway and just make sure that it's knocked out. 216 Pledger, we'd like to continue to try to reach the property owners. On 307 West Hildreth Avenue, and you've heard from Mr. Wheeler on that this evening. We are going to recommend a continuance so that we can try to work out a remediation agreement with him along the lines of what he has proposed. That being said, I think this is a good second just to take a second and say where we are recommending that we have time to work on remediation agreements. I want to say this for the benefit of any of the property owners who are requesting one, or for the general public so they understand the process. There are three components that we look for with every remediation agreement before we propose it. And one is that it is technically feasible. In other words, that there's a plan to bring the building back to code, and in the case of a habitable building, to make it habitable and ready for use. Two is that it be done in a reasonable amount of time. All of these buildings have suffered, and the neighbors around them have suffered for a long time, and so we're not going to let it go on forever. So we're looking for a very definitive, concrete period of a few months to get it knocked out. And then the third is that we want to see some proof of funding that if that they have the funds on hand to complete the work in the time required, so that we don't actually exacerbate the situation for someone where they're putting whatever savings they might have into a project they can't complete. Because if you have those three, items present, it's going to be a successful project. Those remediation agreements get papered in the form of a contract, and then the property gets ultimately ordered for demolition, but subject to, limited by, and conditioned upon the remediation agreement, so that at the end of that process, either we have a restored property, a remediated property, or we have a clean property. It will be one or the other. All right. The next one was 400 Aaron Street, and we are recommending that one for demolition. That one is signed up for the CDBG program. On 402 Grimes Street, we're asking for a continuance for more time to try to reach the property owner. On 404 Chambers Street, we are recommending a continuance for more time to try to reach the property owner. On 406 Dixie Drive, we are recommending that one be continued to try to work on the remediation agreement. That was, we heard from the property owner's son, Mr. Gabriel Espada, earlier. On 406 North Watson Street, we are recommending demolition immediately. On 408 Grimes Street, we are recommending demolition. They've signed up for the CDBG program. On 516 Friendship Street, we're recommending a continuance for more time to try to discuss with the property owners. The same is also true in terms of a continuance for that purpose for 519 West Hildreth Avenue. 525 Damascus Road, we are recommending we proceed with a resolution ordering demolition tonight. It is signed up for the CDBG program. 609 Grand Pine Drive, we are recommending that one be continued also for more time to try to work with the property owner. And then finally, on 712 South Main Street, who you've just heard from the property owner, we are recommending that we proceed with an order of demolition tonight. The issue is not that we wouldn't be happy to entertain a remediation agreement, but we have used the last couple months to try to obtain a plan from the property owner that would be in a form that we could recommend to you and approve. Those components just haven't come together, and I'll have to defer to Mr. Hardy for further kind of particulars on where things are with that.
Council, currently the issue that is arising with getting a remediation agreement for that particular property is due to the extensive nature of architectural and engineered plans that will be required for the property. Due to its commercial nature, the state of Alabama law dictates how commercial property can be remediated and what has to be done, and those normally and typically require architectural and engineered plans, especially for situations of pretty much in a complete overhaul of the building. Because the current building itself would have to be recertified to make sure there's no structural damage, then everything that would need to be added back to that building would have to be engineered architecturally wise. You'd have to have life safety provided. And that is the major issues that is coming up with getting a remediation plan together. The property owner has sent us a quote for a new roof, has sent us some draftsman type plans for electrical. They just do not meet the state's guidelines and requirements when it comes to remediation of a commercial property, and thus we can't accept it. Any questions? Thank you.
Can we ask about another property other than the 712? I have a question about something, another property, not the 712.
Please.
So I see out of these lists, we have, sounds like some contact with some property owners. Tell us a little bit more about Beverly Drive. Has a plan been obtained from Mr. Perry about Beverly Drive? That's the one I didn't hear anything about, any remediation or of any sort. I'm just curious.
Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman, that no plan has been received. Basically, the situation that occurred with that is much like the property owner said. He hired a contractor to redo the roof. We did stop him because the contractor was not licensed to do the work that he was performing. The contractor did try and obtain the necessary licenses, business license, state license, things of that nature, but was unsuccessful. And then the unfortunate civil situation that occurred between the contractor and the owner happened. And that was the last that I've heard of any construction being done on the property. I did speak to the property owner after he took his time to address you, and I do believe we're going to offer him the Community Development Block Grant Program demolition, so that way we can hopefully get the house down at no cost to him, while still remediating the issue that we are having and allowing him to have a raw piece of land to potentially build a property back or, potentially sell. Any other questions about any other properties? Thank you.
All right. So at this point, what I would recommend is a motion to close the public hearing as to 109 Beverly Drive, 400 Aaron Street, 406 North Watson Street, 408 Grimes Street, 525 Damascus Road, and 712 South Main Street, but to continue the public hearing for all the other remaining properties to your regularly scheduled meeting on December 2nd.
Mr. Goldman, would you mind repeating that first portion from 109 to 402 Grimes? I think I missed one in there.
Okay, sure, absolutely. So the ones that we're recommending closing the public hearing on are 109 Beverly Drive, and I'll give the resolution numbers that go with these as well. That may help. So associated with Resolution 10-0725, and then 400 Aaron Street, which is Resolution D. 406 North Watson Street, which is Resolution H. 408 Grimes Street, which is Resolution I. 525 Damascus Road, which is Resolution L. And 712 South Main Street, which is Resolution N. And that all the others be continued to December 2nd.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing for 109 Beverly Drive, Resolution 10-0725, 400 Aaron Street, Resolution D, 408 Grimes Street, Resolution I, 525 Damascus Road, Resolution L, and 712 Main Street, Resolution N, leaving the remainder of the properties open until.
There was one additional one in there, and that was Resolution H, 406 North Watson Street.
Resolution, yes, Resolution H 406 North Watson Street.
Okay, I make a motion that we close the public hearing for those particular addresses you just mentioned, or should I mention them all again? Do I need to mention them all again?
If
Okay.
our clerk got it the first go-round, she says so, you can say so moved.
Okay, I don't mind doing it. I wrote them all down. And then to continue the others to our scheduled meeting, first one, December the 2nd. Okay.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. So with the public hearing having been addressed that way for this evening, I next would recommend a motion to adopt Resolutions 10-0725 regarding 109 Beverly Drive, 10-0725D regarding 400 Aaron Street, 10-0725H regarding 406 North Watson Street, 10-0725I regarding 408 Grimes Street, 10-0725L regarding 525 Damascus Road, and 10-0725N regarding 712 South Main Street.
All right. Do I have a motion to adopt 10-0725 regarding Beverly Drive, 10-0725D regarding 400 Aaron Street, 10-0725H regarding 406 North Watson Street, 10-0725I regarding 408 Grimes Street, 10-0725L regarding 525 Damascus Road, and 10-0725N regarding 712 South Main Street. Do we have a motion to adopt these resolutions?
I move that we adopt these resolutions
Second.
as stated.
And second?
All right, any further discussion?
Just a question, on 109 Beverly, adopting this resolution will not prevent him from getting that demolition? Okay, thank you. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
All right. Next, I would recommend a motion tabling resolutions 10-0725A regarding 206 Mill Avenue, 10-0725B regarding 216 Pledger Street, 10-0725C regarding 307 West Hildreth Avenue, 10-0725E regarding 402 Grimes Street, 10-0725F regarding 404 Chambers Street, 10-0725G regarding 406 Dixie Drive, 10-0725J regarding 516 Friendship Street, Resolution 10-0725K regarding 519 West Hildreth Avenue, and Resolution 10-0725M regarding 609 Grand Pine Drive, and that those be continued to your regular meeting on December 2nd.
All right. Do we have a motion to table Resolution 10-0725A regarding Mill Avenue, 10-0725B regarding 216 Pledger Street, 10-0725C regarding 307 West Hildreth Avenue, 10-0725E regarding 402 Grimes Street, 10-0725F regarding 404 Chambers Street, 10-0725G regarding 406 Dixie Drive, 10-0725J regarding 516 Friendship Street, 10-0725K regarding 519 West Hildreth Street, and 10-0725M regarding 609 Grand Pine Drive. This will be a motion to table until the regular meeting December 2nd.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. Your next item of business would be to open a public hearing on a report of costs related to the demolition of 420 Grimes Street.
Call for a public hearing prior to consideration of Resolution 10-0725O, a resolution ascertaining, fixing, and determining the amount of assessment to be charged as a lien on the property known as 420 Grimes Street, parcel ID number 16-05-21-3-001-057.000 in the city of Enterprise, Alabama, as a result of the city ordering the demolition of the building on the property pursuant to Ordinance 05-2124C. Do I have a motion to open this public hearing?
Well, I move to open the public hearing for
Second.
that resolution.
Second.
All right, so we have a public hearing that's open now. You want to speak on this?
Yes, sir. It is our recommendation that the resolution with the report of cost be adopted as presented. And I would just ask if there's anyone here to speak.
Does anyone speak on behalf or against this?
I want to speak. I just want to know what the situation for my building. I get just on what I don't know.
All right, we'd recommend closing the public hearing
All
at
right.
this time, unfortunately.
This public hearing is
Grimes Street.
closed. Do I have a motion in favor of adopting this resolution 10-0725O?
I make a motion that we consider, or pass the resolution, approve the resolution of 1007-250.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, resolution is passed. We'll now call for a public hearing prior to consideration of Resolution 10-0725P, a resolution ascertaining, fixing, and determining the amount of assessment to be charged as a lien on the property known as 502 South Weeda Street, parcel ID number 160522-3-002-009.000 in the city of Enterprise, Alabama, as a result of the city ordering the demolition of the building on the property pursuant to ordinance 052124C. The public hearing is now open. Do we have any staff recommendations?
It is our recommendation that the resolution be adopted as presented.
Is there anyone to speak on behalf or against? All right. Public hearing is now closed. Do I have a motion to pass Resolution 100725P?
I move that we adopt Resolution 100725P.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Resolution is passed. Motion carries.
All right. The final item of business I think that I'm here to assist you with this evening is one that I'm really happiest about. All of these are weighty issues, but this last one is a real success story for everybody involved. And that's on the resolution that would approve a remediation agreement for 912 Rucker Boulevard. There was a change of ownership, and they've presented plans that have been fully vetted, fully developed, and those have been attached to the contract that is the remediation agreement. So that gets baked in so that we all understand what work is going to be done. A timeline was proposed. It was reviewed by the building official. They believed it was reasonable, and they did present some information to show that they had the funds on hand to complete it within the time required. So all of those elements are there. What I like about this one is what makes it so unusual, because this is one you've already ordered for demolition. But again, because of the change of circumstances, we're able to come back to you before exercising that right to demolish and to ask you to amend that resolution so that we have the ability to proceed with the remediation agreement. It has already been signed, and I do try to always do this when I have a remediation agreement. It has already been signed by the property owner so that you know they are fully committed that if you authorize it to be executed on behalf of the city, we're ready to go.
All right, I introduce and call for consideration of Resolution 100725Q.
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 100725Q.
Second.
Amending Resolution 061725M, which ordered the demolition of a building or structure at 912 Rucker Boulevard, Enterprise, Alabama, parcel ID number 16-0515-1-000-045-000. The resolution calls for the city to cause said demolition to be performed by its own employees and/or by contractors, subject to, limited by, and conditioned upon a remediation agreement which the mayor is authorized to execute on behalf of the city. We already have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank
It was
you.
good to see y'all this evening.
Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
All right, now we will review and consider work authorization number 2025-01. I introduce and call for consideration of Barge Design Solutions work authorization number 2025-01 in the amount of $789,885 for project development, survey, design, bidding, and construction phase services for the relocation of County Road 606 and the runway 23 extension design at the Enterprise Municipal Airport. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the work authorization number 2025-01 as submitted.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have a request for permission to purchase equipment. Introduce and call for consideration of a request from City Engineer, Public Works Director Barry Mott to purchase the following equipment through state-approved purchasing programs, including Sourcewell and NPP Gov. 2 2025 International trucks with PAC-MAC booms at $221,515 each. 1 2025 Timco sweeper on Freightliner M2-106 chassis for $343,945. 1 2026 Kenworth tri-axle dump truck T880 Maverick Ox body at $186,000, and 1 2026 Kenworth tri-axle dump truck T880 Stampede Ox body for $215,900. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the purchase request as submitted.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request permission to purchase storage building. Introduce and call for consideration of a request from City Engineer, Public Works Director Barry Mott to purchase a two-bay garage at a total cost not to exceed $20,000. The proposed structure will include 2 roll-up doors, 12 feet wide by 10 feet tall, 1 personnel entry door, and will be delivered and installed on a concrete slab prepared by city staff. The building will be used to store equipment supplies for the street department as well as for other city departments. Although this purchase was not included as a pre-approved budget item, the savings from 2 vehicle purchases by the street department totaling over $20,000 will fully offset the cost of the storage building. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the purchase request as submitted.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Introduce a request from the Sizzling Claw LLC, doing business as the Sizzling Claw, for a retail beer and wine on or off premises license located at 627 Bullweevil Circle. Call for a public hearing to be held at the regular meeting scheduled for October 21st, 2025. I'll now call for nominations to fill the seat of Director 3 on the Enterprise Land Bank Authority for a term ending January 6, 2028.
I'd like to nominate Turner Townsend to the Enterprise Land Bank Authority, Director 3, for a term ending January 6, 2028.
Second.
I forgot to open nominations, but they're open. We've got it. Is there any other nominations?
I make a motion that we close the nomination.
Second.
All right. We'll close the nomination. All in favor of Turner Townsend being appointed to the Enterprise Land Bank Authority Director 3 for a term ending January 6, 2028? Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, Turner Townsend has been appointed. We will now recess our regular session and convene into our E911 board meeting. All right. The records show that all members of the board are in attendance. Call for a motion to approve the September 2nd, 2025 E911 board meeting minutes as written.
I move to approve the E911 board meeting minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. There is no old business, new business. We review and consider Resolution 100725, fiscal year 2026 budget. Introduce and call for consideration of Resolution 100725, providing for the adoption of the fiscal year 2026 budget in the amount of $509,750.
I move to adopt Resolution 10-725.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Call for a motion to approve accounts payable A for September 2025 in the amount of $3,423.06.
Move to approve accounts payable A for September 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The E911 meeting is adjourned, and we will now reconvene in our regular session. All right, Mayor, do you have a report for us?
construction project across the city. Many of you have noticed that the work along Highway 167, which is a state road, as well as water line replacement projects happening throughout Enterprise. We understand it can be somewhat inconvenient, and we appreciate everyone's patience as this important work continues. The roads may be a little bumpy right now, but in the end result, it will be worth it. As I like to say, pack your patience, progress is on the way. We're getting into that time of the year where there's something happening almost every weekend. Last weekend, our fire department went door to door distributing free smoke alarms as part of Fire Prevention Month. This weekend, we'll have the annual Kicking It with the Cops event, followed by the Bo Weevil Fall Festival downtown on October 18th, and Spooky in the Park coming up on October 24th. There are plenty of opportunities for our citizens to get involved, volunteer, and enjoy everything the city of Enterprise has to offer. Finally, I'm proud to continue serving the citizens of Enterprise as your mayor. Tonight, the council set forth quarter goals, and I'm excited to keep working together to live up to our city's proud nickname, the City of Progress. Thank you.
Ms. Rich?
Thanks, those that stayed through that hearing. I know that can be tedious, and I certainly, Mr. Goldman always scrams out of here before he can kind of hear us thank him publicly for all that he does for our city in that regard, and certainly our staff, our clerk, our engineering. It's a lot of work that goes into that. I do want to say that some of these hearings are a little heavy. You know, no one wants to lose their property. People have invested their time, their blood, sweat, and tears into it. And I certainly have compassion for property owners with a plan and an action. I like that they broke down the remediation targets. You know, that makes sense. Is there a plan? Is there a time frame? Is there a proof of funding? Because where there are sometimes that the conditions are just so bad that property owners want to do, just don't have the means to do. So in that regard, Mr. Perry, I am going to be praying that you have an opportunity to speak further with our staff to take advantage of that. He reported during the hearing about the CDBG grant. And certainly appreciate your forthcoming and being transparent with your property with us today, as well as the others that came up to speak. So I personally like these meetings because it's progress for us and the goals that the council has set to improve some of these areas. And I like to drive around and see where we can actually see some of these improvements. It's a little bit at a time, but it's effective. And so we thank y'all for your hard work.
I'd like to ditto everything Ms. Rich said, but especially I would like to thank our city employees, especially the engineering department, public works department, for the work that you put into getting this nuisance property cleaned up. It takes a lot of work and a lot of legal necessities, and I know it's not easy to do, but I'm glad to see this coming through. Thank you very much. Thank everyone for coming tonight.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. I'd like to thank everybody that's watching on the live stream. And Dawn and I, my wife, I would like to say thank you so very much for the city's support, my community, and our friends for the loss of our daughter this past Sunday. Thank you for all the calls, the prayers, texts, plants, flowers, and supportive love. We thank you so very, very much from the bottom of our hearts. This city is wonderful. Staff, thank you. God bless you.
Mr. Walls?
Yep. Scotty, we're praying for you.
Thank you.
Thank you to our city. Thank you for everyone that worked tonight on the information that was brought to us, the binder here that was brought to us about the properties. A lot of work went into that, a lot of diligence went into that, and it shows. I appreciate the effort. No one takes that lightly, and I echo Ms. Sonia down there that, we want to see our community improved. We want to see properties improved, not just for driving by, but for the property owners that are next door and the neighbors. So thank you guys for the hard work that you do for that. I also want to thank Turner Townsend for continuing to want to work in our city and for our city. And I appreciate that he's going to be working on that land bank in that director position. So I'm thankful for him and his dedication to enterprise.
I think most everything has been said tonight. Thank staff for all the hard work. This has definitely been a process that was a lot of effort and thought put into to get started. And happy to see that now we are continuing to move through phases and cleaning our city up. And Scotty, we're going to continue to keep you in our prayers. This meeting is adjourned.
Got some more. You're already getting ready. I know. You know the deal.
Oh, yeah.
That's it, just the one, just the one.
All right, okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. I'll
you.